Oh, is that what you give now? Yeah. Because it's the
That's your job. We're ready to
Carolyn, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the delay, folks. Let's do a pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Breon? Here. Mr. Card?
He's left, he's not present tonight.
Ms. Diarigo? Here. Mrs. Wells? Here. Mayor Noel?
Here.
Brings us to the first items. Mayor Noel, with regard to the proclamation.
If you didn't know already, we have the best principal in the state, I'll say the nation. And I'll say personally, all that went on here in post-Sandy and everything, I personally lived at the school with about, 150, whatever other people. And to say that so much was done from our principal and everything that she did for us at the time is an understatement. So one of the true heroes of everything that's gone on, and on top of it, let's face it, it's one of the better schools around. It's only getting better, as is our grammar school. My son likes to go to school on Sundays, obviously they're not open, I'm not pushing for that, so I'm not reading it that. But I want to read a proclamation. It is a great pleasure to recognize Principal Lenore Kingsmore and honor her outstanding achievement for being chosen as a New Jersey Visionary and NASSP MetLife Principal of the Year. Her commitment to attain excellence and success demonstrates her standing as an administrator, educator, and role model for students of Henry Hudson Regional School, as well as the residents of the entire Tri-District. Principal Kingsmore is representing not just HHRS, but the entire state of New Jersey, as she will now be included as a finalist in the National Principal of the Year Award, along with the principals of the other 40 states. On behalf of Highlands governing body, I, Mayor Frank Nolan, and the council, do hereby congratulate Principal Kingsmore, our own New Jersey Principal of the Year, and declare May 4th as Principal Lenore Kingsmore Day.
Take it on behalf of Mrs. Kingsmore, and I'm sure we deeply appreciate it. And we had a tremendous reception for her back a month and a half ago, and it was tremendous. So, thank you.
And a round of applause for you all. Thank you, Doctor. What's next, Karen?
Public portion on agenda item.
Okay.
Is he on the whole meeting?
Yes.
Because then I'll move that.
What, did I step in something?
No, I was just thinking, you said, oh, I didn't know if you were in the
No, no, I'm
rest. Left.
Okay, we're going to have a public portion, just so folks that haven't been here before. We have two public portions. This one is on the consent agenda. And does anyone have any questions on that? Kim?
Kim Spargo, Shore Drive. Question on the disposable equipment. What is the plan? Are these vehicles going to be parked next to the same ones that were approved for disposal last June that we still haven't disposed of?
No. That's an easy answer, right? We have other things happening right now, Kim, that we're going to be able, we believe, to reutilize one of those vehicles and get rid of the rest. It's an open personnel item, so I can't really speak to it specifically because it's not right to do that. But within the next 2 weeks, I think you'll have a better understanding on what one of them potentially could be and where the others are going. I don't want to not give you an answer, but that's just the truth.
Okay, so things that we've been sitting on for well over a year now to be disposed?
I will be shocked if you don't have a very thorough update by the first 30 days in June.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because, as we all know, the borough's desperate for money, and every little bit we can get from.
And in fairness, you've been bringing it up and you've been correct.
Okay. And on the payment of bills, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask a couple of them. I see we bought another 15-inch bagless upright vacuum cleaner for $380. I don't know where this one is going, the other one was for the community center. How many vacuums do we need that at 2 or 3 times the price of what I could get one, if Bed Bath & Beyond? And that's without a new one.
I don't know where the application for this one will be, but when Mr. Hill is back next week, or 2 weeks, I'm sorry, we'll be able to tell you that.
Okay.
Where that's going exactly and what use it's gonna have.
Okay, is there, I asked at the last council meeting, is there any update on how we can get less expensive vendors onto our approved list?
Well, I know there's a process on that, Brian, you want to speak to that briefly, or Pat can? Less expensive vendors, in other words, like to pull from?
Sure. I know we had this conversation last meeting there, and Tim chimed in there. So any vendor we deal with needs to have a New Jersey Business Registration form. As long as they have that, then we can deal with them. We're allowed to purchase from them. We do have a bidding process. We have a purchasing agent. And I know you mentioned to buy some stuff online. That's kind of a little difficult for us to do, even though the prices may be cheaper. But I guess more, Tim can weigh in more too.
I think too, because I looked into some of the stuff you're talking about, like buying on Amazon, like we do in our private companies and obviously our homes. And sadly, a lot of things have not caught up yet, 10 years later in the municipal world, but that's some of the things I think that Brian can work on clearly.
Okay, is there someone I need to call at a higher level that we should push to?
Well, we're drawing many things from the county in the pool, correct? And
Yes.
they're not doing much of that either.
Yeah.
So I think it's working its way down. I know it's slow, I know it's crazy, it should have happened 5 years ago, but those options aren't on the table right now.
Okay, I mean, in a bigger borough, it might not be a big deal, but, we're a small
Agree,
town,
every
an
dollar
extra $300 every other payment of bills starts to add up real quickly.
I agree,
Okay, thank you.
no problem. Any other question on this? Mr. Stockton?
Andrew Stockton, 31 Grand Tour. Is it true from the council members what Ms. Skorka said, that the town is desperate for money?
Well, I think that, let's say like this, if we had $20 million sitting in the bank, you should always be conscious of the cost and spending, so I don't mind. I actually welcome that input, but I think, yes, after post-Sandy, when we're approaching our bonding limits and things like that, waiting on payments back from FEMA and, that kind of stuff at a 90% rate, that yes, we're at our limits of spending and bonding. I think that would be, anyone that would argue that would be erroneous.
I would hope all of the council members take that to heart and understand that completely.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else, just on the, again, you'll have another opportunity to talk on anything a little later. This is on the consent agenda. Want to hold off?
I guess I got it wrong.
We'll come back to
I
that.
just
I promise you
wonder
that.
where Councilman Carter gone since he's got me out here for this tilt-up.
He had to go, sir. I can't, speak for him, but he told us he was leaving.
Yep.
I can't speak for anybody but myself.
Like he did with the fire department.
Again, there'll be an opportunity if anybody wants to weigh in on any other items as we go through the process. This is the first open, I should say, public portion, not the second.
Just to follow up, are you going to vote on the tilt-up resolution?
That's under other. The answer is no.
Okay,
And we'll talk about that, of course, in detail when that comes up. Okay? No other questions on the consent agenda? Okay, and I'll close public portion for that. Does anybody have any questions at the table on the consent agenda? No? Claudette, you okay? Carol, I'll offer it.
Offer by Mayor Noel, I'll second it. Second by Ms. Wells, Ms. Brouillon.
Yes.
Ms. DeRigo. Yes. Mrs. Wells.
yes.
Mayor Noel.
Yes, please.
Motion carried. Resolution R16-110, resolution to amend the 2016 temporary budget.
Pat, you want to speak for this, please, sir?
Sure can. Yes, this is something that we do. It's a temporary provision to set up funding that allows us to keep the borough functioning between January 1st and the adoption of our municipal budget. So this is just a temporary spending plan. This is our third one we've done, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, and we've done this in the past couple times too, as we get our
And it's
house in order. But Pat, do me a favor, some of the folks are here for the first time.
Yeah.
Just explain to them why also you're waiting on money back from certain other entities that you don't have that number yet. You don't want to stop the wrong number.
That's right. So the mayor alluded to that there are changes to the budget that's going to be discussed tonight, and some of those changes are that we applied for some state aid to the tune of $500,000. So the budget's not going to be adopted tonight when we have a public hearing. We're just going to discuss the overall budget document as it appeared there in the paper, and it's made available publicly. But it's only like a temporary point that we're at right now because we're waiting for some state aid to come in. Hopefully we get that.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on the amending temporary budget?
I just have a general question. Is our fiscal year?
Ma'am, would you mind name and address?
I'm sorry, Joanne Olszewski, 27 Grand Tour.
Thank you.
Is our fiscal year like July 1st? Why is it at this point in the year that we're amending the budget for this year?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So our budget runs from January 1st through December 31st,
Okay,
right? So we put in place a temporary budget that we operate. We pay our police department, we pay all the public works department. So we have a temporary budget that we operate out of. So we're waiting now for the state to give us approval on how much money they're going to be giving to us
okay,
in grants, and then we could finalize the budget.
okay. So it's kind of like waiting for Grandpa to send your Christmas present or whatever.
Hopefully, yes.
You know it's coming, but you didn't open the box yet.
Exactly.
Right. The other thing is we used to be on a fiscal calendar, now we went to calendar a few years back.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that? Seeing none, we'll close that public portion. Anybody have any questions or comments at the table? Nope? Good? All over it?
Actually,
I apologize.
no, sorry, just to say, I do believe the finance committee did a great job with Mr. Blasio going through everything.
Kim and everybody else that's on it, it's here, we appreciate that. Kim Stork has been on it for a couple of years now, right, Kim? Appreciate everybody.
Mr. Francie.
Mr. Francie, obviously, all the work everyone's done on that. Would you like to offer it?
Yeah, I'll offer it.
I'll second it.
Offered by Mrs. Wells, second by Mayor Noel. Ms. Breon.
Yes.
Ms. DeRigo.
Yes.
Mrs. Wells.
Yes.
Mayor Noel.
Yes,
Resolution R16-117.
I'll offer it, I'm just kidding. So here's what's happening, folks, okay? I know it's a contentious item, so here's what happened. We talked about this, and bear with me and I'll try to explain everything to you. In the past, we talked about things, this is probably going back 2 years, to try not to put anything on agendas after the agenda went out to the public. So generally, the public gets the agenda on Friday before the meeting, the latest Saturday, it's posted on the website, all that other good stuff. This item was on there after the fact, not in any other way than it was put on there. So, I didn't feel comfortable voting on it because we didn't notice everybody that I think would show up. They kind of find out word of mouth, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll go on the record and say tomorrow we had what I would say is a noticed and legitimate vote. I'd vote to knock it down because me and my family don't like it. That's just a reality, okay? We did talk about doing public meetings, which we've had many here, a lot of you have been here. We had a town hall meeting, some of you folks have been to that too. And we talked about if we didn't get enough of a turnout that we might put it on as a referendum. We also talked about having another town hall meeting. That wasn't the catalyst to table it tonight. I think the catalyst to table it tonight was because we're waiting on a few other, I guess entities is the right word, rather not really say agencies, but agencies to weigh in on a couple of matters. One of them is 2 items. I don't really want to go into detail, but we're hoping to have that information back next week. So I will offer to table this tonight to the 18th. We're going to also rope it off or put a fence up because there is, our attorney has advised us, there is would we say a higher percentage, if you will, of a liability issue than any other structure because of the documentation and things that have gone on.
Something could be crafted.
Right, so obviously, yeah. So clearly I want to take the advice of our attorney, that's why we hired him and he does a good job. So that being said, I'm not advocating keeping it, I'm advocating following the process and procedure we said we were going to do. That's just my 2 cents. Anybody else want to weigh in on that at the table? Please do.
Now I'm just confused, are we going to go to referendum?
My thought
I know that
process
was,
that we were going to do it. If, I believe we did say the words, and I'll fault myself on this, saying that we were waiting to see the turnout and the proportionate of the turnout. I would say, and Carolyn's a little better at the analytics than I am, let's just say we've heard from 400 people via surveys and showing up at town hall meetings. Some might have been duplicates, but let's just say they weren't. Roughly is 2,500 registered voters in the town, so we got about a 15 to 20% turnout of people who we would hope would be a lot higher on a referendum and in a presidential election. So I don't want anyone to be confused. The vote's going to be in 2 weeks. My vote may not be to knock it down or to proceed further, not because I don't want it down, because I wanted to follow through with the process and have everybody weigh in and own the town. But we are also waiting on a couple other bits of information to come back that I don't think anybody felt comfortable voting on it tonight. But that's just my thoughts. I don't want to put words in my guys' mouth.
I think it was just, for me personally, I know we had agreed with Councilman Card, things wouldn't go on the agenda past Friday. It leaves, obviously we're making a huge effort in being ultra transparent, especially with a very sensitive issue. So when you're not able to get to the people, I don't think it's fair to do this kind of thing. I mean, I knew people that I knew do like structure, and I was kind of saying, I'm sorry, I think it's going to be on the agenda. And I do want people to be able to speak to it tonight as well, because why should they have to come back again? I mean, obviously we know what Mr. Card's feeling is. He drafted the ordinance or resolution. So, and I have concerns with it being on the taxpayers when we had the contractor offering to pay at the town hall meeting. And I just don't know if, as Kim says, we're borrowing pennies and everything else, and I just think we don't know enough to make an informed decision on what it's gonna cost to get rid of it, before we really go into.
I'd like to speak to that. That's part of what we're waiting for. We're going to get the accurate proposals to take it down, so I think it's unfair that you're saying that right now. It's misleading to the public. That's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the actual proposals, the actual to the penny cost, what it's going to cost. We have been advised that there is some money to do it if we have to do it. It's not going to affect the taxpayers at all, and I don't think it's fair that you're stating that it's going to cost them something.
Sorry, well, I promise when we're all done talking, I'm going to go around the room. Okay, give me 1 minute.
That's, you went
But I
down
also-
a road that you shouldn't go down, Rebecca.
I also want to go on the record saying that it's not just the dollars and cents we're waiting to find out. There's a couple other agencies to weigh in and a couple of procedural issues that I don't think we would make I don't want to say a bad decision, but maybe not as well informed as if we waited the 2 weeks. Carol, you want to
Just so that people are aware, there's other entities that the mayor was describing. It's not just DEP or open space or HAFRA.
Can you name
Another
the other
agency-
entities, please?
I'm sorry?
Name the other entities, please.
I was just about to. Along with those organizations is also the Freehold Soil, which we also have to get in touch with, because they were yet another agency that was never notified before this was built. So now we could be up against the wall with them, so that's just another person that we now have to reach out to. So as this time goes on, everyone's starting to say that they want a piece of this action as well. So we've got to make sure that we're compliant with all of these agencies.
I think there's also, I'm
Yeah, go
sorry, I think there's also a private party issue that I don't really want to go into right now, our attorney's going to handle that may have been overlooked coming, and I don't want it to be overlooked going if that's the will of the council. And all I want to say is the reason I didn't feel comfortable voting on this tonight is all the things we stated, plus then I think we're going down the same road where perception was it came in fast, it was going to go out fast. That's all I'm saying.
And just for the record, I did try to get this out on a Swift reach, but the people that did the Swift couldn't do it.
So now it sounds like a lot of time.
Yeah, because I don't have time to do
So
another
there'll be,
Swift reach, I have no time.
none of those, I won't say excuses, but none of those factors will be in place in 2 weeks. Doesn't mean everyone's voting for it or against it, it just means that we're gonna have a little better, more information. So let's go around the room. Sir, please name and address for the record.
Joe Khalid, 17 Ocean. I think it's important to follow up on what you were just saying. Things came in under a speedball or a cloud or whatever you want to say. And why do you have to consider leaving it or knocking it down until a full investigation is done of everybody, including the sand people and the private parties, etc.? Why do we have to rush out and put a motion on the agenda to knock it down?
I will tell you there is one factor, that we have a rec program here all summer, which starts sometime in June or July. So if we have a situation that is legitimately being described as an extra or a more liable point the town is at, we have to address that.
Put a lifeguard there.
Well, we're talking about Obviously, we're not just talking about the beaches, we're talking about the structure behind me in the.
No, I'm saying they have to go through.
Well, there's many options, I'm not saying there's not, but I think there has to be it has to be addressed this month of what we're doing as far as if we're not knocking it down, how are we minimizing it so there's not an extended or an extra liability when you start having, whatever the number is, a couple dozens of children here in a rec program. And obviously outsiders from the beaches coming all over. I mean, I think it's a legitimate, concern to bring to the table.
Is it?
I believe it is, yeah. Whether you vote for it or not, I think it's a legitimate concern. If we have somebody who's our paid legal advisor and his, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we have some sort of unique liability because of what it is, it has to be addressed. Whether we vote yes or no, it's got to be addressed.
Okay, I just think that let's do all those things before we have votes about knocking it down and get it right this time.
And I think that's why we tabled it tonight. We're trying to go in that
No,
direction.
you tabled it because you had other regrets about it coming onto the agenda late.
And not having all the information.
Okay,
Okay?
as long as everybody follows that.
I think we will, sir. I hope we will, let's say that. Nani, you want to go next? Just name and address for the record.
Nina Flannery, 100 Madison Avenue. I would like you to consider letting events take place there. I know there are several groups in town that are, they want to have drum circles or yoga or, a couple of things. I think it's a bonfire event coming up. And that was hoping to be a part of all of those events. So I'd like you to consider letting it be there for the summer. Let's see how often it's used and what it's used for.
Then we have to remedy the issue where there's an extended liability other than the other structures in the town.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you, Nani. I'm sure there's a way to get that done, and they have to go down too.
Right.
But right now, it's not the case.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Name and address, please, sir.
John Dansky, 2 North Street. You know what? I'm gonna say this, if you take it down and it doesn't cost anything, I would just think you guys were foolish. But if you take it down and you spend money taking it down, and when you can't even drive through one of those streets because they're flooded tonight, where you have priorities. You have bigger priorities than that out there on that beach, and it's become an issue that has outgrown this town. I mean, if we're gonna sit here and spend months and all this stuff fighting over this, we got serious problems here. I mean, I really believe, like you were saying, okay, we're gonna have to remedy it if we're gonna use it. Frank, I know you can get that done.
I don't disagree.
I don't doubt it at all. I mean, this whole thing, let's get what you gotta look into, look at, and take care of it. But I'm against spending any money taking that down. It's there. I mean, and if we're gonna go under the guise that it's illegal and that's the reason we're taking it down, if you drive around town since January, you can look at illegal things that have been put up. Are we gonna apply the same rules equally across everything, or is it just gonna be this? Because that's not right either. I mean, so, what's the reason? I'd like to really hear a good reason if that's what you choose to do, if you're gonna take it down. I mean, and I disagree, I know you and your family don't like it, but you're the mayor, you gotta vote for everybody.
That's why I said put on the record, sir.
That's fine,
That's why I said
that's fine, but
And I did not cut you off, but a gentleman, a couple people at the town hall meeting brought up an excellent point. They spend, let's call it $20,000 here on taxes, returns, and everything else, but don't vote here. So let's send out a petition to them or survey, something along those lines, and put all that into our, bucket, if you will, and make a decision based on that. I agree with what you're saying, we should have the majority make the decision rather than the minority.
I mean, even with that, I feel comfortable that you guys can make a fair decision based. Being the mayor and council, you have to make these decisions at some point, whether it's on this issue or another, that's your job. I mean, sometimes, and you know how it is, you gotta look your friends in the face and say, you're wrong about this.
Sure.
This is my job to do, whether, you put me here or not. You might not like my decision, but I have to make the right one.
Sure. I agree. And I think to be clear about the conversation went back and forth about costing the taxpayers money. We may not be bonding or taking extra money from anybody, but there is a dollar amount of tax. Now that doesn't mean we're not going to seek money from one of the parties involved if that's the route we go. Let's be clear.
Melissa Fowler, 62 Gravel Point Road. I totally feel the same way.
Which way, I'm sorry?
If it's free to leave it there, I understand a lot of people are very emotional. But when I hear that we are in dire need over a $300 vacuum, I'm very concerned because we know it is gonna cost at least $50,000 to remove the structure. I feel the same way. When we need additional lighting to finish our streetscape, the flooding issues, no borough hall, no service, we really need to think about where we're spending the money.
To be fair to all parties, I don't know that it's free to leave it here, I know the person did
Well, the
offer.
gentleman said,
I
I
understand that.
understand in writing.
There's a dollar amount
she
attached to
said in
that, and
writing.
yeah, I agree.
I also heard that you said there was a private entity to put up the money. Can you tell me who that is?
No, I said we had to remedy a situation between us and a private entity.
I'm sorry, sir.
We had a situation with us and a private entity that should have been addressed coming in and would have to be addressed going out, and that hasn't happened yet. Our attorney's working on it.
And I know everybody.
That was another reason not to vote tonight.
Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. It was said last meeting when you were here, but the private residents had offered to put up money.
To take it down.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay. And then the other thing is that, I know everybody gets really emotional saying that it's illegal, but it's just not in compliance. And I'm sure if the borough worked with those entities, I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, sir, the legality. Somebody can get hurt in the park or on the swings or, anywhere. We have another structure down at Miller Beach. Why is this one different? I'm just wondering.
A savvy plaintiff's attorney could say that it's a dangerous condition when you're noticing a dangerous condition that's not in compliance.
Because we have a letter from an agency saying
But
it's
it's
not
not
done.
compliant, that's what
With
makes
certain
it.
regulatory agencies, plus it's also an invitation, I think, to children, et cetera, to go in there and maybe skate or do whatever. So there's always that potential of possibility.
So that structure is not covered under our regular gym, like the same way if somebody falls on the sidewalk or?
No, it should be, it's borough property.
That's all I'm saying, I just want
I
to
understand
understand. We don't have a letter from another, let's just say, agency, from, let's say, the school or New Borough Hall or the firehouse saying this is not compliant. We do, and let's be fair, put everything on
Oh,
the
you
table.
have a letter from the
Yes,
agency?
I don't think that's a question.
So that's what makes it.
That's what makes it an extended extra
Okay, I
liability.
just want to understand.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're all talking apples to apples. So yeah, I could, not me, whoever could walk down the street, fall and sue us for, this building, that structure there. This is the unique part of it, has something saying it's not compliant.
I just like, I really don't have an opinion of it one way or another, but the money.
And even when I talked about it today, it's kind of like I'm
Money is-
55, 45,
The money is the issue.
Agreed.
We're that desperate over a vacuum, and I think we really need to.
Well, I don't think we're desperate. I think common sense says want to look at any spending, obviously, whether it be 300 or 3,000. So, I mean,
Or 50.
but we are in a state where we want to obviously take down our bonding and get reimbursed from FEMA and be able to make a little more flexible decisions, if you will.
And if it, it really doesn't matter what account it comes out of, it all comes out of ours, our own personnel.
We may not have a bond for anything else.
Or they raise money for, we raise money for a lot of things to improve the town.
I think to
just
John's,
hope
I think to John's
taxpayers-
point, there's many ways to remedy it either way. I just think we should be as open as we can of what we were doing it and put an advertised meeting out there and everything else rather than.
Right, so everybody knows, all the rest. Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Sorry. Mary Saltzman, 43 Stone Harbor. I have a question, I have a lot of questions, but is it insured? I mean, just yes or no, is it
Yes.
insured?
Yes.
It is.
I see Mr. Anton here, and I'm wondering if maybe Mr. Murray was at the meeting, the town meeting where this was the only topic of conversation. And I asked him a very simple, direct question, and he did not answer it at all. So what I'm wondering is, the plan said that the 6-foot wall should have gone in front of the water. And in fact, the 16-foot wall is in front of the water. So I'm just wondering how that came to be, or what error the construction companies might have made that caused the view to be blocked by an additional 10 feet.
I appreciate the question. I'm not the builder. I do believe that there was a north arrow on the plans, and I think it was that he built it to what he thought was the north arrow.
Well, I mean, who else was in charge of
I don't have,
sort of-
I was
I'm
not
sorry,
here.
I don't, and I really don't mean to be aggressive about it, but.
I'm not aggressive, I appreciate your question. You know?
I mean, this is just completely, I'm beside myself as usual. And I'm sorry, but all of the issues that Carla just brought up about all of the other things that need to be done in town, all of those issues existed before this happened.
Many did, many, I agree.
All of them. And this was going to be my little speech, and I'm just going to read the last paragraph.
Please.
The last two. 9 months of planning, 9 months of secrecy, 9 months of ignoring any and all processes necessary to construct an edifice of any kind on the beach, much less one of this size and scope, much less one that put a 16-foot-long wall, cement wall in front of the water rather than the 6-foot one represented in the drawings. Those drawings were shown to only 1, 2, maybe 3 people. You can describe political motivations and other false rationales for why we find ourselves here, but the bottom line is the lack of respect shown for process, with the resulting outcome being, and I was hoping that this would be the last time I had to speak these words, 550,000 pounds of concrete showing up on our beach, and with it, a rock-solid symbol emphasizing that lack of respect for the resource that we all value. And this was all about being called today a Benny on social media. And what I wanted to do was state the obvious, which is for close to 20 years, I have paid for, I have helped pay for everyone's children and grandchildren to go to school, for police protection, garbage pickup, and all the rest. It would be interesting to know that the budget, what part of the budget that you all are talking about is actually paid for by we Bennies who've been here, Patty and Rich who've been here for 40 years.
You're talking to the head, Betty. I grew up in Jersey City. But here's the deal. I agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying, and in respect to the statements, I think voting it through tonight would do exactly what you're saying also.
I understand.
You know what I mean? So I think that there's a couple of questions.
I understand the rationale for that, but I don't understand the rationale for waiting until November. And I also think that when Claudette, thank you, talks about seeing the cost down to the penny, I really think that you need to consider, and I don't know what this cost will be, the fact that I have to hire an attorney at this point. I can't do this anymore. I can't come back and forth down here and speak my mind and look at the thing. I need to plan my own time and my own summer, and my neighbors are suffering. This is not. This is just. It's wrong. It's just wrong.
I understand your feeling. And you've been very consistent throughout the whole process, so.
Well,
I appreciate you coming down again, and I'm sorry, but I don't think it was right to vote on something tonight without all the information and it being noticed properly as far as on the agenda.
I can understand that. It's
Sorry, it's
everything else
another
that
2
I
weeks
have a problem with. And also, one more, I'm sorry.
Okay.
One more thing, the idea of planning events there when there's this much, not even discourse, when there's so much consternation over it, it's flat out, it's just wrong. It's wrong. And and it just continues to create more friction for people. And also, 6 months have gone by, and the number of people who have discussed this thing and who 75% of whom want it gone, I just don't see.
75% of the people we've heard from. I would say it's about 90, but that's just people.
Well,
out of the people we've heard from, not the people I've heard from. I'll say that.
Right.
My wife, my mother, right down the line.
That's all.
All good. They're all citizens, right? They pay taxes.
Thank you.
Chris Francie, 36 Fifth Street. Just one additional point. I hope we are taking tilt up on that offer, and we've started the permit process, so this bogey that's out there, CAFRA may not approve it, is eliminated as a concern, or at least even a CAFRA. They do give preliminary indications. All right, it's not binding, but
that was another thing that we talked about, Mr. Francie. I don't want to go into detail. You can't go too far in executive session, but I would say the opening discussions of that have happened, and we've given direction to go down that road. And I think it was a little pivot tonight So I think that we're gonna discuss that again.
Okay, because, you know,
You should be
everyone
working on
will know, if CAFRA says no, then it's gotta go.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
All right, but CAFRA will give you an indication, it is approvable if you do X, Y, Z.
Correct, they'll give you a punch list or
And
tell
I
you
think we
no.
need to know that to make an
Big
informed
time.
decision.
Big time.
So as you know, Mr. Hill is on vacation.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Hill is on vacation, as you know. Those conversations started, I would say 4 weeks ago, maybe 5, and we'll get an update on that when he's back. Again, I wasn't prepared to have this conversation because it wasn't on Friday or Saturday, so we didn't know we were going to go.
And my only concern is that we should be doing parallel paths to this.
Wholeheartedly, I agree with you.
Thank you.
You should have 2 proposals in front of you.
And worst case scenario, if it comes back, is to your point, you have 3 agencies saying no under any circumstance can you keep it. It's not a good conversation on that.
Thank you.
No problem. Ms. Stockton.
Stockton 31 Grand Tour. In my opinion, it's irresponsible for the council to introduce a resolution tonight when they have admitted that they do not have all of the information on what it will cost the borough. And it was my understanding from this discussion that you said that there's a liability issue because it's not in compliance. If it's brought into compliance, where there'll still be a liability issue?
There can always be a liability issue, alleging a dangerous condition, it just makes it more inviting and more of an easier target.
So in theory, a permit could make it in compliance.
Compliance.
Right, there's a couple things.
And that is a feasible option, and it is.
I don't think
very
there's a question on that, Richard. I agree.
My other question is, how many people actually answered the survey?
226.
226.
226 people.
You were at the town hall meeting, it was
Is
roughly,
that a fair sampling of the amount of voters in our town?
I'd
Was
say,
that about 50%?
I'm not speaking for anybody else, but that was my point.
Because I know we discussed at the town hall meeting, like you said, putting it to a referendum in the fall, in November, when everybody is going out to vote.
But I thought, one
Fair
thing not to catch up, I thought that the folks that brought up that don't vote here should have an option or an opportunity, I should say,
Okay, so then they can get a mailing
100%.
and.
No, they can't get a mail. You
No, not a mail to
You cannot
vote, they can get a
two
mail
separate
survey or a.
towns.
Was the survey even accurate? Because we don't have all the facts and figures. Tonight, we're saying that we're not introducing the resolution because we don't even have all the information. So the survey,
Yeah.
one, was it an official survey? Was a resolution passed to even have this survey put out? The survey is really not an accurate, fair way to make decisions that will cost the taxpayers $40,000, $50,000, $30,000 when there's a free option to get it into compliance.
I would say that there may not have been a resolution, but I think clearly we all wanted to go forward with it.
And
So that wasn't done by
out
a
of the
roll.
200 people that voted, how many people voted against the structure?
It was the same percentage it's always been since the first 2 votes were cast. It's 75%.
75%. So less than 200 people even want the structure demolished in our town.
That's a way to look at it.
So-
If it falls, I mean, I understand the analytics, if that plays out to the entire voting population,
Mrs. Stockton, to be fair, I mean, this is election time. You see every night when you come home from the news, you see that somebody's run a poll of 1,000 people across the entire United States. The entire United States has over 350 million people, but you can make projections on that 1,000 to 350 million.
But
You can
fair
make as a
use
stable
of
sample
resolution
size.
to spend that much money to knock down the structure.
It
You
was
have
just
less than 200 people that even care if it gets knocked down.
And then you can say that less than only 100 people cared about the monuments, even
But
when
the
we went to
fair,
vote to the
fair
mayor's
way to
town hall.
do it would be to have a referendum, to have it go for a vote, because it's a large expenditure. And when you just said that our town is in dire straits, when we have no money, when we could be spending $50,000 on a police station or on Borough Hall, maybe knocking down all of the dilapidated, unsafe structures in town that should be demolished.
But
That's
excuse
what
me,
we
but
spend
people
our
have
money.
volunteered to pay for it to come down,
So
so.
that wasn't part of the survey.
Well-
We don't have those facts and figures, so we don't even
We've
really
stated
know
it a
if
number
this
of
is
times up here.
I think it's irresponsible for you to be introducing a resolution before you have all of the concrete facts. Everything is up in the air. It's a sampling. It's, a couple hundred people that voted and less than 200 people are in favor of knocking it down. You don't have the dollar amount, but you do have the gentleman who came to the town hall meeting who said, we tilt up, we'll pay to get this into compliance. So that we know is free. We know that's free. Because he said he would write a check then and there.
He said it, that's what he did.
Okay,
He
so
said
we get that in writing from Tilcon. They probably will pay for it, why wouldn't they? They went through the expense, and all their time.
I can't answer for
that
Tilcon.
structure there. I know you can't answer that, but I just think it is a very irresponsible thing that this council is doing, introducing a resolution where you do not have the dollar amount, you do not have a reconstruction plan, you don't have any agency input whatsoever. And you're saying that we're gonna knock down a perfectly good structure, whether I like it or not, is really doesn't matter. I really don't have any, feelings about this structure whatsoever, because quite frankly, I'm not here on the beach every day looking at it. But I do feel like spending taxpayer dollars, spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to remove a perfectly good structure that could be brought into compliance very easily is not how we should be spending our money. We have no police station, we have no borough hall, and we have dozens and dozens of dilapidated, unsafe buildings in this town where our children could get hurt. I feel very strongly about that. If, somebody decides that they want to pay and donate $50,000 to reconstruction,
Where are you getting 50 from?
then I would say go
Hang
ahead.
on, hang on.
50, 40, 30.
Whatever the number is,
It's
right,
more
whatever
than
the target
free.
number is.
It's more than free, which is what it's going to be to bring it into compliance.
Wasn't free to begin with.
So,
Hang on, guys.
Sometimes free is the best
donated.
price.
All right, let's not go back and forth, let everybody have their say.
So, that's my feeling. I feel it's irresponsible for the council to be doing this at this time. Once you have all the facts and figures, once a responsible information can be sent out, a mailing should be sent to the taxpayers. I know a lot of my neighbors knew nothing about what was going on with this hilltop, because a lot of people are not on social media, including me.
Okay.
So, you are not reaching all the people in town. Not everybody is on your calling system or your texting 911 system. There are a lot of people that have no feelings about this because they don't know about it. So a referendum is the fairest way to figure out what to do with this whole project.
Thank you, Dan. Name and address.
Maury Welch, 50 Galley Street. I would like to know what, if anything, has been done. Many of us have talked about process, regardless of whether you like it or not. Many of us have some real concerns about the process. So maybe it is perhaps too early to do a referendum on taking it down or not, but it's certainly not too early to write a new process, write a new procedure so that this doesn't happen again. There's been so much focus. I would like to know, has anything been done in terms of a new policy, a new process? We've talked about this, that there should be thresholds for risk, liability, money, exposure, PR, everything. There needs to be checks and balances. So I would like to see some effort, and I do this for a living. I'm happy to help you write something. But this can't happen again, because if you don't change the process now, we will be talking about this same thing in a different shape, in a different form. So I would respectfully request some effort be put on looking at the process. I'm one of those people, I believe that there were real process, real compliance, real serious checks and balance issues. So some attention has got to be put with that. And like I said, I'm happy to volunteer to help co-write something or whatever, because something needs to get done so that we don't find ourselves in this place again and again and again.
Thank you for your comments, Marie. I will tell you this, as far as that issue you're talking about, checks and balances and processes, we welcome any help. Obviously, we know what you do for a profession. One of the things that I know I talked about, and I know Brian mentioned that some of the other council people talked about during the interview process, was updating our ordinances and some of the processes and policies and procedures. Now, in the first, let's just call it 120 days, not even, about 90, we've been working on this issue a lot, obviously, and a couple other lease agreements that are coming to the forefront and a couple other items. So I think hopefully in the second quarter, we'll be able to get a better handle and attack them one by one, like Carol and I have talked about, and Becky and I have talked about, and Sir Potets talked about it with the other members too. Because we know from, unfortunately, trial and error, some of these things have come up. And nothing is, a lightning rod as this, just a normal process of the governing body, that some things were a little antiquated and outdated and maybe not as streamlined as you're talking about. So that is that.
And I will agree with Maureen too, because, what struck with me is you said, talking about it over and over again. These are the same discussions we had with the monuments in Betts Park. It's the same, it's like reliving it all over again. it comes to you, it's a good idea, we think we're doing the best efforts, and now we're doing it again. So how do we do this so we make sure it's compliant and happy and everyone gets their set?
Let's go to this side, do anybody?
Kim Skorka, 315.
Hang on, guys, I'm talking.
I've been jotting a lot of notes as people have been talking, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. First, I want to applaud the council for tabling this. I appreciate that you're doing the due diligence and hope everybody else here can appreciate it. Even though this was hastily put into the agenda and nobody knew about it and it was last minute, I appreciate that you tabled it and that you're waiting and you're exploring all the potential problems that we have. I don't think we should wait for a referendum. Once you have all that information and we know what it is, it should be voted on. You did a survey, and people might say, oh, nobody knew about it. You know how they announce ordinances that are going to be put on our books? In a tiny little blurb in the print edition of the newspapers. How many people here actually read the print edition and actually flip to that page to see if there's an ordinance being introduced? You don't. So, to say that nobody knew about the survey, I don't think there was a great response because the answer was yes or no. Do you want it to stay? Do you want it to go? I think a lot of people in this town really don't care either way. It's there, whatever, no big deal.
So, okay, let me ask you a question, not cut you off. What would your suggestion be? Just vote on it when we get these 2 bits of information you're saying at the
Not
table?
just the 2 bits, because when
No,
you
I
get
think there's
2
only
bits,
a
there might be
handful of-
5 more that you
handful
have.
of things,
Yes.
yeah.
Once you're confident that you have all of the information and you've talked to all of the necessary parties and you can present options, it should be discussed again.
Without-
Town hall,
not
council meeting,
hastily
special
rushing into it.
meeting.
Yeah, no, by the way, you were at the town hall meeting, we said this first.
Right. I don't think it should go to a referendum because
Okay.
there are people who are taxpayers in this property and have been for decades that will not get to vote because this is not the primary
That was a
residence.
great point, I agree with
There are
that part of it.
primary residents in this borough that are not U.S. citizens. They also don't get to have a say, but they are paying your taxes. It's not fair to put it to a referendum because not everybody gets a say. You might think they do, but they don't. And I find it kind of funny that Councilwoman Wells is concerned about expense because, she's only been collecting $90 on a, $45, $60 cell phone reimbursement.
Let's stick to the content.
In budget meetings, there was also a discussion. I had said, well, now the tilt-up is here, maybe we get permit fees for it. Glossed over, not even a 5-minute conversation. Now all of a sudden, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread to bring revenue into the borough. I want to know if Tilt-Up has reimbursed the borough for the time during the construction. Tim Hill spent countless hours, emails, phone calls, meetings. Our police department had to close the roads. That took time away from their regular duties. And Dale was involved in some emails. That's time, effort, and money that this borough spent on Tilt-Up that was supposedly free. It's incidental, but still, this was not 100% free as we have been told. I already touched on how the majority want it gone. Also, at the town hall, you did a show of hands, totally not.
I think it was
legit.
overwhelming.
But it was
Yeah,
overwhelming
it was
to
a
get rid of it. So again, people like, oh, the survey was to get the feel of the people. It wasn't to tell you how to make the decision. You wanted to feel, and I think you get it. People want it gone. I also have a question. I didn't realize Mr. Anton was going to be here. Everybody thinks this is a great monument. It's great for the town. It's not being promoted on Tilt-Up. It's not even listed on the architect's website. Tilt-Up came with 2 busloads of people. They showed the monument to them, and that was it. There's no promotion. There's nothing about, come see our record-breaking lift. Nothing. They came, they dropped it, and they left. And that's it. Not even, even Weird New Jersey said, go see it before it's gone. We're getting more press out of Weird New Jersey than we're getting from Tilt-Up. And just because it's cheaper to keep it isn't necessarily the right decision. If your neighbor built something and it wasn't in compliance, could you let them keep it just so that they didn't have to spend $10,000 to tear it down? I don't think so. I think you'd want them to be in compliance. And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Anyone else on this side? Please, sir, name and address.
Tom Reed, Snug Harbor Avenue here. I want to thank everyone for coming, respect for the town, mayor and council, chief, and DPW. I just want to say that, I'm in this town and I'm invested in this town, and I not only want to see the town come back, I want to see it come up. And you know, I put my sweat where my mouth is, so to speak. Last weekend, I spent 12 hours, you know, working real hard to improve a part of the town, all right? I believe anyone who shows up at these meetings, whether they're difference of opinions, you know, they want to see the town better, all right? And I sit back and I listen to this, that, and the other thing, and I just hope we learned our lesson about this. We can't have 1, 2, or 3 people make a decision that will affect the entire town. It's absurd, it's arrogant. You know, for something like this and for lesser of projects, it was vetted, it was town meetings, this, that, and the other thing. I don't understand the secrecy of this project, why it just was all of a sudden here. The last meeting I was at, I explained that I heard that they were gonna replace the pavilion. And I pictured a, you know, similar pavilion.
Yeah, you're talking about
a little
that.
nicer, a little bigger. Okay, shame on me for not investigating, and I put that on myself. But let's hope that we learned the lesson here. Not, you know, the government's of the people for the people, not of 2 or 3 for 2 or 3. It's a shame that we spent this much time and money and effort on something if it was done correctly and it wasn't done in so secretively, would have been vetted with the community, and you folks, I'm sure, would have said, you know, maybe it's not a great idea, because sometimes free is not the best price. And obviously, this free structure has taken away time and effort of the town, and specifically the town council, that needn't be, had it been done correctly, and had it been done with respect for the taxpayers, citizens, and people that enjoy the beach. That's all. So the initial irresponsibility was a few folks deciding what was best for everybody. That was the irresponsibility. And then taking the emotion out of it, folks are talking about finances. What's fiscal? And it doesn't affect me. I'm here because neighbors of mine ask me to come and support them, and I do that. What's fiscally responsible for the town? Spend the least amount of money. So I'm not sure it's concrete, but I understand that Red Bank Recycling gave a bid of approximately $10,000. They've been in business for quite a while. They said that they're a professional, reputable company. They could do it for that amount of money. Okay? Is that fiscally responsible to do that? And then I'm sure there's folks here that are ready to, I'm not a part of it, but there's a group that's ready to retain a lawyer and sue whoever they have to sue. Will it cost the town more than 10 grand to defend the lawsuit? That's fiscally responsible.
I think it always does.
All right, and so if it costs 10 grand to remove it and it costs us 30 to defend the lawsuit, fiscal responsibility will say, take the emotions out of it, dollars and cents, it's got to go.
I will say this, if you don't mind, because I want to hit the point while it's still hot.
Yeah.
I think that you're correct in your assessment of what one of the bids were for one of the vendors.
Right.
But 1 or 2 of the pieces of information that we don't have tonight
Right.
could drastically affect that. Nothing to do with the
Okay,
vendor or their ability. We all know they're a reputable company.
right,
But it could draw those prices up tremendously.
all right, I get it. And once again, I hope we learned the lesson here. There's a gentleman right across the street has health issues, and I'm driving down the street and just stopped to say hello to him, and he's exhausted. He said, Tom, it takes away my peace. He's a man who pays his taxes, he lives alone. He says, the reason why I bought this house was to sit on this deck and look at the water. I can no longer do that. So he said to me, they've taken away my pursuit of happiness. So these are things that, had this been brought to the forefront, been transparent, and presented to the town, I think you folks would have made a intelligent decision and said, you know what, free isn't worth it. That free-mindedness, the time and energy spent on that free-mindedness has not been worth it. It just hasn't. And then now I'm hearing it's not compliant and it could be a safety issue. If I offered to paint your house for free, you'd say, great, do it, but I'm gonna paint it black, pink, or purple, green, and you'd say, no, that ain't
Understood,
worth it. Sometimes free is not the best price.
Yeah, what you pay for.
Let's learn our lesson, not do this again, resolve it in the best way possible, and try to move forward and like some folks say, pay attention to areas of the town that need help. And I, for one, am available, and like I said, I don't bring a problem without offering a solution. So let's do the right thing.
Thank you, Tom, for your comments. Anybody else on this side of the room? Please, sir.
Oh, yeah, I'm Fred Anton, 1101 Franklin Avenue, Ocean Township. First of all, I read any remark?
I can't hear you, sir, I'm sorry, they're not gonna get you on the record.
Cool. I read the Betty remark, and I didn't like it. I just want you to know, I saw that last night, and I said,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. I'm curious, and I appreciate everybody's input, I really do. But I'm curious to why you say it's unsafe.
Well, let's just say this, our legal advisor has advised us that this has an increased liability than any other structure that the town owns or operates because we have a letter from an agency saying it's not in compliance. That doesn't mean it's less safe if someone walks through there to trip, or walks through our schools, or walks through our borough facilities. It means that there's an opportunity for a smart attorney and somebody who's very savvy to gain more of an upper hand on the town in an attempt, possible litigation or mitigation.
You're saying that, and I'm
what we're talking about, right?
And I'm just asking.
Plus, it's constructed on unimproved property where there's certain things as well, and it's also inviting the children to use, so it's, that.
Becomes an increased liability.
That potential, I'm not necessarily saying that it's any more than other structures, just a savvy, as the mayor said, a savvy claims we could use that. You always have to establish that there's a dangerous condition.
Okay. Because structurally, it's not unsafe.
I don't think that was said. I think it was said it's not in compliance.
You hear some more talk about trying to have an event in there.
Yeah, well, that was brought to the table also by some folks in our recreation.
Right, and I just want to say, that's one of the reasons that design is like that.
Yep.
I hope you work it out, I really do.
I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with the process and make an informed decision with all the information.
Mary Salzman, I just.
Hang on one second.
Yeah,
Anybody else over here that didn't get a chance yet?
Sorry.
Okay, then name and address, please.
Krista Fair, 51 4th Street, Highlands, New Jersey. I am the art teacher up at Henry Hudson. I wanted to come down to just give my input on the structure. I know that there are people that live in this area that are upset about it, and I understand it because we've all been through Sandy. We all went through something that, was out of our control. And then we had a structure dropped in front of us that was also out of our control. And then we felt that we could have had control over that. So I do understand your upsetment, and I feel for you in that way. But I also feel like, it is maybe, if we go through with this and keep it, it is a sense of possibility. I know it's just a plain structure right now, but I am an art teacher. I can see visions, and I can see it maybe making it something beautiful. So, with that being said, I feel that the children, that have been through Sandy, they've been through it, and we can all work together to make it beautiful, and they have their input, their emotions that go through it, and they can work through it, painting something on there that could help them, get through Sandy and kind of close that door. We're not there yet. We're absolutely not there yet. We need to have, all the money put in. But I just wanted to put that out there and let everybody know that, it's there. Let's try to make something beautiful out of it.
If I may, I'm the child, a daughter of a well-known artist, and I can tell you that you just can't go and draw on somebody else's creation. You must get the artist's approval of submission.
Absolutely, it's something
And
that
they have not
we can look
indicated
into.
that they want people to draw on it
Maybe not.
or anything of that sort. So,
I understand that, and you know what? You're absolutely right about that.
I don't think we've reached out to the artist to actually ask, so.
But I also want to put on the record too, I don't know if you're at the town hall meeting, and by the way, you do a great job up there, thank you, you know what you do, your profession. There's a gentleman, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a well-known local artist who does a lot of murals in town, and he's offered, if we do decide to keep it as a community in the council, to put some sort of course, as Claudette brought up, at the artist's any permission, some sort of mural. There's other people that talked about softening them to look up by the appropriate landscaping. So I think there's a lot of avenues to go down. The first one we have to do is know all the financial implications and then decide
Absolutely.
in regulatory, obviously.
But I like that, there's actually other artists that are also thinking that too.
I'm sure there are, I just mentioned him because he said it to me.
Right,
and,
and you know what, that's what
everybody
artists do,
knows.
we'll make it beautiful, if you don't, we can all be part of it as a community, and make it ours. If we're gonna keep it, we might as well make it ours,
I
okay?
think those are great comments, thank you. Well, we got it.
I wasn't gonna talk about this, I was actually gonna talk about something
You mind giving a
else.
name and address for the
Oh,
record?
Michelle, 90 Portland Road. I actually was gonna bring something else up, but I am an artist and I'm a sculptor. And I feel like I need to talk right now about this piece. And just like she just said, we don't feel, sometimes it's hard to understand something and or art, and sometimes you get a little angry because you don't understand the artist's intent. And I understand, just hear me out, because I really wasn't really trying to get involved. I was letting the process happen. But I just want to say something because I personally love the structure and the intent of the artist. And the intent of the artist was to create this gathering place for people to heal after a storm. Whether it's placed in that spot, that's not the thing that I love about the sculpture. I love the fact of the possibilities that could happen underneath it, the weddings, the engagements, the children playing in the light, all of that stuff. He chose that media, concrete, because if you did any other thing, like steel, glass, whatever, it would distract from the purpose of the sculpture. And the purpose of the sculpture is not the positive space, it's a negative space, the things that happen. Now, I know a lot of you are looking at me with terror and horror, like, how could you like this? Well, it is my personal opinion, and I respect yours, and I understand why the community is having a really difficult time, and I really applaud you guys trying to do the research and stuff like that. But I just want to say on the record that I think it's pretty cool. I think if this was placed in the middle of Central Park, it would be the coolest thing. We're in a different community. No, it's your opinion. But we're in a different community. And a lot, people did not like Michelangelo's David sculpture. They did not like it. They thought it was too big. The muscles were bulging, and of course it was me. And they didn't like that. And it had a lot of criticism. That is one of the most famous pieces of art in the world. If we could figure out some way as a community to embrace this, or postpone things, let's figure this out. Let's really do our research. How can we use this to the benefit? I think it would be really cool. Even if we just have a trial period. Let's see. I know, I'm looking at your face and I understand, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, but I think that when they give it the nickname like the Stonehenge, they give it, oh, it's ugly. You know what? Those are negative connotations to something that was intended to be beautiful. And artists make things that people don't understand. I've had work in the show where I meant it out of love and people were offended. And I didn't mean to offend people. But we're at the crossroads here. And I know that you guys will make the right decision. Because I can tell you're taking your time. So that's all I just wanted to say.
And I appreciate your comments. I just want to add one thing, and we'll let everybody else go, I promise. I don't think that the anger and the emotion that you hear is a comment on whether they like the structure or not.
Right.
I think it's the emotion and the anger if they believe that they had no say in it coming in here or not.
Right, and then you get upset.
That's my belief.
Right.
There's 1,000 people, if you ask, that didn't live here, that lived on the hill or in Middletown, and just drove by and showed it to them. They probably wouldn't have emotion either way. They'd say, yeah, I guess it's okay, or I guess it's not. I think the most, and I'll just speak for myself, the feedback from the community, the anger and emotion, and neither one is negative, they're all human qualities, right? Is because they feel like it was done without them having it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's two different stories. I think that, to your point, you can embrace something and make it a better thing. But I think the other point is if it was put in the middle of Central Park, there's nobody living around it. Within 100 to 200 feet. So I get what you're saying.
I agree.
1 second, sorry. Ma'am in the back of the end.
Lori Nolan, 65 Snuff Harbor. Okay. I think 100% what you were just saying. It is a beautiful structure. It's art. That's your interpretation of it. You love it.
others do not. It may be the location that others do love it as well, but just do not like the location of where it's at. The bottom line is, I think they feel they didn't have a say, whether it's a beautiful painting or a mural to add on it, or your say, or to not have it here, okay? The bottom line was, there was not public input on that structure. That starts the problem. I just want to know, in a few weeks, you're saying, in 2 weeks, you're going to come back. Are you guys are saying, and I hate to put it this way, but it seems like, you guys are saying you have someone that will pay for it to be taken down. When you come back in 2 weeks and the numbers are here on how much it is to come down, can you have it in writing from whomever that that is able to happen? As well as to have it in writing to the person that says they're going to pay for it to stay. We're all saying this is happening, here say this, here say that. When you come back in 2 weeks, because I don't think it's fair that she has to come back in 2 weeks, or another 2 weeks, or wait till November, get all the facts, and then put it on the agenda. Stop going back and forth. It should never have been put on tonight to begin with. It was stated it wasn't going to be, and it shouldn't have been. Please, do your due diligence, as they're all saying, get the facts, get it in writing, and then let us, the taxpayers, know, and then let's move forward from there. Please, because enough of this has to be said. How many times are we going to waste on this subject? On both sides. I don't want as a taxpayer to pay for it, but I don't want to see it standing. Okay? And I spend a lot of time in this community center, and I spend a lot of time on that beach. And a lot of you do not. I'm sorry. Okay? And you may say leave it here and see how it feels, but I'm going to tell you, you cannot see that beach. This is why this community center is here. That's why that beach is here. It would have been up on the hill, maybe where the rest of you live, you would have enjoyed it, okay? If someone had to say about it, maybe that would have happened. It didn't.
Just on another topic,
So
how many
please.
family members do you have in this town?
Please, do your due diligence and get the facts before you come back and put it on the agenda. And
I've heard
please
this
make
50
sure
from 50 different faces.
Mr. Card knows that as well, because he's the one who put it on the agenda tonight. So please, or Carol, whoever, before it gets on the agenda again, let's make sure we have our facts in front of the both of you so that we can really state what's what in dollars and cents. And then
Let's
we can
just
figure out
say this, we're hoping to have all that information on the 18th. It would be irresponsible to not have it till the 16th and say, by the way, we're having it on the 18th.
Okay.
Right? So we're gonna say we're gonna talk about it on the 18th. If for any reason we can't, I would hope by Monday, which is the 16th, I believe, we can put out a notice saying, by the way, we didn't get all that information, so don't waste another night. We're gonna.
I have to discuss it in executive at the next meeting, and then you can always do a resolution at the next meeting where we realize that we're all communicating and all on the same page, so we're not doing this.
Like I said, I thought we were in the middle of doing the process, and this was kind
That's
of a
what
surprise.
was kind of discussed, but.
But I would echo many of the things that you just said.
Okay, so then once we see the agenda on the Monday before.
No, you should be out on the Friday before.
Okay. You will guarantee you will all have your facts, because if you don't, it will not be on that agenda.
I'll guarantee you this, Mrs. Nolan, I'll make sure I have mine, because I'm not coming home. I'll be at the Vermont.
Thank you.
I'll hurry.
Scott Kelly, Hetty, I wasn't going to talk, but Lorraine, you inspired me there. We all have very strong feelings. Art, not art. I'm kind of surprised that artists are advocating painting over art, because you wouldn't do that to a Van Gogh by any means. Whether or not you like it there, you don't like it there, it's on the beach, it's placed, it's not placed. My big objection is how it got there. You talk about how many people wanted, well, how many people wanted it there? How many people were privy to it? And you know, all of a sudden, bam, it was on the beach. What's it cost? Did it cost us anything? It's already cost us. It's cost us time, effort. It's cost us labor. It's cost us more than you know already. So, what does it cost us? I'm on the recreation committee. We had 2 people that quit the recreation committee already. Why? Because of this. Because of whether or not we should have programming under it. It's an illegal structure right now. How can you advocate to have programs under it? What have programs on the beach? We have a lovely beach here, let's do it. Let's figure out what's going on with this thing, Personally, I hope it's torn down, but it's cost us. I find 2 people on the rec committee that I thought were going to really help get stuff going in this town, and now they don't want to be involved because of this. That cost us tremendously.
Thank you, Scott.
Andrew Dano, 183 Miller Street. I think what this thing has done is drive a wedge between the people in this town. Whoever is responsible for it, good job. A magician earns a living through deception. Even if it's for a second or two, it'll distract you while he pulls off his trick. And I think that's exactly what I'm hearing tonight. Everybody that's spoken has said, this is a distraction. We want to get back to the issue. Instead of sitting here guessing, hey, how do you do that trick? We want to be saying, how did the thing get up there? How did it get up there in the first place? I think that's the issue. How did it get there in the first place? I came here to these meetings and I see these people, I'm amazed at these watchdogs. I say that with some very kind words behind it. They're watchdogs. They look at these dollars and cents here and say, what the hell are you doing? I want to have that thing out past those people. How did that thing get there that we have gotten to the point that the only thing we want to talk about is, do you like it or not like it? Why don't we go back to the beginning and say, somebody messed up. We shouldn't have done it this way. We should have followed the process. I think that's where I went wrong. Didn't follow the process. The people that should have had some input didn't. So all the input here tonight of I like it, I don't like it, doesn't mean a damn thing. Nothing. So let's go back and find out, what do we do now? Is it legal or is it not legal? If it's not legal, who's responsible? And take it from there. Forget all this other stuff. Forget it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Chris came in, sorry,
Andrew Stockton, 31 Grand.
You're free to go, I love you, but you're not.
I'm going to echo Chris Francie's suggestion, and I hope the board follows it, that we should be on parallel tracks. We should be seeking that CAFA permit from NJDEP, regardless of whether the decision is ultimately to take the structure down.
I don't disagree. And I think that
please direct
we believe that was happening.
Powers to be to either send out an RFP to the proper engineering and planning firms or to direct our borough engineer to start that paperwork process and do it. If you would have done it in January like we were talking about, you would already have that CAFA permit in hand. It's not a long, hard process to collect that permit.
From your experience, what is the normal time frame?
Somewhere between 30 to 90 days you can have that permit in hand.
Thank you, sir.
Especially if you go through the process of having that pre-application conference with them to make sure that you supply them with the information that they're looking for sooner rather than later in the review process.
Okay.
I also commend the council for tabling this resolution tonight, because to me, it was upsetting to see that it was even on the agenda, the second agenda that was put out, and not on the first agenda, especially when in January, Councilman Carr mentioned that he wanted to have everything fully vetted, and the discussions are still continuing that you're nowhere near fully vetting the whole process. You don't know the actual true cost of demolition. The survey had underestimated demolition costs and overestimated engineering costs.
The surveys had the actual dollar amounts from the RFPs.
Not for engineering, there was no RFP for that. And I've asked for that documentation and I don't have it. So I don't know where the $17,000 number came from.
For demo you're talking about?
No, for the engineering.
I'm sorry.
That came from engineering.
What
That
engineering?
came from Dale and Rob Keating. And we've had this discussion before. Dale and Rob put those numbers together and gave it to us.
For the record, our borough engineer.
They should have picked it up and they should do it for free too.
What we talking about now, Tom? I didn't know what kind of you were talking about.
Permits, right, Chris? I mean, you know, if playing the blame game, let's put the blame where it goes too. They have a hand in not doing the right thing also.
There's many conversations
You know
that
what, if that conversation should be, you guys gotta fuck it up here in free too.
Fair point.
You know, you're gonna take shots at, you know, we got residents taking shots at each other over this, let's take shots at some of the people we paid for once. Make sure it's supposed to go right.
Name and address, sir, please.
Director, let us be central. Gentleman had a good point. I've been to every single meeting, and I still can't understand how the structure got here. No one has really provided a full explanation. I read some of the minutes from many meetings that you guys had. I know Rebecca, you were involved quite a bit, the town administrator as well. And Mayor, can you please, or council, explain to us how we did not go through the proper process? I mean, we have local laws, we have town code, we have state laws, and we have federal laws, and not one of those were followed. So we'd really like to hear from this council who's responsible how exactly this happened. The gentleman had a great question, and I haven't heard an answer, and I've been to every single meeting.
To speak about the exact process, I can't because of, obviously, there's people in the room that are threatening litigation. I said this before, I'll say it again, whether I was here or not, I was a sitting mayor, blame me. There's your answer, now what do we do?
Well, I think that's the frustration.
Now what do we do? Blame me, now what do we do? Do we go outside and fist fight? What do we do?
No.
Right.
But that's
So now we try to do the right thing.
Try to resolve. But I think the resolution goes deeper than just the structure. It goes to that answer. It goes to that transparency that we're not seeing.
And I think that's kind of what we talked about. That's why we have a new, not that it was the old attorney's fault, but that's why we have a new attorney. We're asking him to look at things like this. And that's why, quite frankly, we put off the vote tonight, because I don't think we were as transparent as we should be putting it on the original agenda, and it wasn't on.
So is there, on your part, I would imagine there's some anger there, right? I mean, I would have to imagine that as the mayor, you're saying these meetings would not have happened but before.
If tomorrow I could go there with a sledgehammer and knock it down, I would.
Well, I know, but it's not about the structure. It's about the members of the board that were involved that allowed this to happen. And again, you were sick at the time.
Yeah, but as I said before, and you know, when you sit in this chair, good, bad, or indifferent, you get the praise, you get the vote. And I don't want to die. Trust me, I'm not trying to be rude to you, and I understand everything you're saying. I think that those things and the particulars will come out over time as we go through the other process once this is remedied, whatever we're doing here. With what you're talking about with possible ethics and things like that.
Well, the other process being what? I mean, are we talking about revamping the code? The code, we have a process, right? I mean, it's not.
Well, yeah, we do, but I think there's certain things, and like I was saying before, not it's necessarily for this exact project, if you will, but other things are not as up to date and as tight as, if you will, as they should be. So one of the things I know that I mentioned to Brian in the interview, because a few of us interviewed him obviously one-on-one before we hired an attorney, was doing this and looking at some things that, you know, at the maybe we weren't as diligent as we were in the last, say, 10 years, because we didn't have as much to update as we should. But again, that's why we've been trying to have as many town hall meetings as you can, because a lot of people have said to me, hey, I appreciate you guys meet twice a month, but I work Wednesday nights, or I have to watch my kids Wednesday night while my spouse works, or whatever it is. So that's why we try to have these public meetings, and at the last public meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago on a Monday night, we said, and I thought that was the will of the full council, because this was the first meeting, we were going to have more as we got more of this information in. To go backwards and to tell you what happened and where it happened, I'm just going to say it again. If you want it, if you have to place the blame, place it on me, and the rest will come out in the wash.
I think what you guys need to know is that the deeper anxiety here is that if we move forward, do we have a council? Do we have a board that is, you know, that is going to be transparent? And this structure represents that lack of transparency. And the thing that's beautiful about Highlands is I've never met a community that's so passionate about where they live. The people are unbelievable.
And it shows on the turnout for votes, we're always higher percentage-wise than the surrounding towns.
It's wonderful. And I hate to see this tear apart a community. And if it stays there, it's going to represent that lack of transparency that happens in this town, or at least has happened, and hopefully won't happen in the future. But I think every member of the board needs to, take a close look at themselves and say, what did I do to create this?
In fairness, there was only 3 of us here then.
Well,
These 2 ladies to my left were not here.
I know that.
Okay, no problem. Any other comments? I saw someone else raise their hand in the back.
Very small. Since Mr. Anton's here, I don't know whether you can answer this question for me, but, and it might seem a little bit inappropriate, I don't really know, but as we all know, there is Google, and there is Facebook, and there's all kinds of information available. And you obviously know how passionate I feel about this by now.
As I do.
And I'm just wondering what the big secret was, from your perspective. As I understand it, and which is also all this information is available on Google, there were a lot of industry trade publications and so forth that had the information about what was going to be built here in July and August, maybe even before. And in fact, there was a friend of yours on Facebook. You had a photo of, is his name Ezra, I believe, someone from Ezra's company taking a mold off of a truck. And this friend asked you, what is this? And your answer was, I'll be able to tell you in due time. And I always wondered, what's the big secret? Why, if all of these people knew, what was going to be going on here, why weren't we given the same information or the same opportunity, perhaps, to, comment on it?
Okay, well, you're asking him, and I think you could direct that at the table.
I'm sorry.
I think that question is directed more fairly, in my mind, not at this gentleman, he can answer.
I'm not challenging you.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean, I think that, to your point,
question.
if it was in trade magazines and on Facebook and their
Right.
social media, he wasn't keeping it a secret.
Okay.
I think the fairness that, like the other gentleman brought up and so many others have, is who were the partners involved in that on our end that didn't make it the same, in your mind, transparency and publicized?
So can you answer that question?
I'm gonna say the same thing I said before, I don't.
Well, I'm asking Rebecca, if you have an answer to that question.
Rebecca's answered you a few times. I told you I'm terribly sorry for not communicating things properly.
You know what, lack of communication didn't put that there. A lack of process put that there.
Right, and that's what we're working on now. And as I said,
but now
are you
it's
going to
6
allow me
months
to speak?
after
Because
the
you
fact.
want to hear what I have to say, but then you're not letting
Go
me
ahead.
speak. So, as Maureen said, she'd like to help come up with the procedure. Johnny can tell you, I don't think there is much of a procedure for borough projects, as we've seen with the project at Vents Park, the monuments. You have a resolution, and then it just kind of moves, and then you can tell me.
I would be willing to
Because
tell
trust
you
me, I'm
that.
a very process-oriented person. If there was one, I think it would have been followed to the nines. It was with administration, it had a resolution, and it should have been communicated better, and I have apologized for that.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, I have submitted a transcript of the resolution as you described it to the council, where your description was in no way in keeping with what the actual resolution was. So that, right out of the gate, is a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about what the resolution
The
says.
resolution to.
The wording of the resolution?
It was supposed to be, it was described as an exploratory, a non-binding resolution to say that we don't want to be passed up for this, so that they don't bring it to another town. That was your description. And Doug asked you, let me think. Well, Doug said, I don't understand, sometimes free is not the best price. That was actually his. And Carol Luca, whose voice I recognized from the tape, actually said, what do we need a memorial to Hurricane Sandy for? We have all these empty houses here. And you described this as something that we were going to explore, that you were going to be asking questions, this was not what anybody signed up for. You have the transcript. That's the first my first sense of illegality is you said something completely different than what ended up being, what ended up going through.
But I think
And Mr.
that,
Anton, I would want you to know that, because this idea that, the council gave permission, they never gave permission.
but ma'am, is that on him?
I'm sorry?
Is that on
No, I
him?
want him to understand, because
I think he understands wholeheartedly the passion,
well,
emotion.
I'm not so sure. I don't know.
I think he does, but I'm just.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I think we're gonna close this conversation. Go ahead, finish us off, sir.
Question, Council, if you can explain to us, what normally would be required if you had a small gazebo on that structure and you decided, if the board decided to build a much larger structure, much larger footprint, what would be the normal process for them to approve that? Would it be a variance? Can you please explain to us what the normal process for something
Really,
similar
as
to
you
that?
know, it would depend on the specific facts and circumstances, the size of the structure, and if there's any so there's certain processes in place and certain regulatory agencies that guide construction, whether it be the Department of Environmental Protection, Freehold Soil Conservation Agency, they're all different agencies. There's also the construction department. It really depends on what the exact structure is.
And from a town code perspective, would that require something that increased the footprint, double or triple the size? Would that require a variance?
It really depends. It really
Case
depends.
by case scenario?
Yep.
One more, that's it, okay, please.
Lori Ellen, 65 Carver. In, I guess, Becky's defense at this point, I can't anymore. I guess if the borough project comes up, I understand what you're saying, that there should be procedures like the homeowner. Okay, I thought the same thing. In this sense, I guess there wasn't. But in the defense as well, we have many things going on in other parts of this town, Cuddy Park as well, okay? Mr. Carr was running that project. I haven't seen any input from this town on what's going on down there.
You talking about
happy with,
veterans?
I'm sorry, veterans, I'm sorry. I'm not happy with the structures that are going on down there. And I don't mean the monuments, I mean the walk, the rope, the safety for kids, it's in a kids' park. So I truly believe that Becky is on the path of making sure for the future, we need to get this ordinance, I guess it is, or whatever.
Policy procedure.
In place, because when he as well states that nothing in the future is gonna be just put in there, I didn't see anything put forward for that part. I didn't hear any input from anybody around here on what was being put in there or what has been put in there. And it was done in the last few weeks.
Right.
Did you know about that?
The question is, did the
I
town, the question is, did the town follow their own code
Right, so
in order for those structures?
So
And as
now we have
council
another
said-
thing going on at the other end of town. Was it followed even though it was said that this is how it's gonna happen?
I don't wanna go too far up, guys, we gotta get to the rest of the agenda.
So
We're gonna have this conversation
Let's
again
not
on the
go over the
18th,
whole town.
and I would love everybody to show up again, and many more, to weigh in on what we're talking about now. So, what do we do with this, just table it to the 18th?
You made a motion to table to the 18th.
Oh, second.
Second by Ms. Brian. Ms. Brian?
Yes.
Ms. DeRigo?
Yes.
Ms. Wells? Yes. Mayor Nolan?
Yes. Got some more if you wanna stay, no? No, okay. Have a great night, happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Reference to resolution R16-118, I did speak with the chief of police today, and we've had some issues on this and requested that this be tabled.
We're talking about the, 118, okay, I'll offer that,
To table to the 18th.
that's fine.
Up by Mayor
118,
Nolan.
we're on the table to the 18th.
Oh, not
Second by Ms. Wells. Ms. Brian?
Yes.
Ms. DeRigo?
Yes, this is for 118, correct?
Yes. The
118.
inlet, the extended license premise?
118.
Yes. Mrs. Wells? Yes. Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
Budget. Public hearing for the budget.
Okay. Patty, you ready, sir?
Sure am.
Okay, are you ready in case you need any qualifications?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Folks, we have the public hearing open. Is Carol here? Ms. Buckner? No. On the public, I'm sorry, on the, I apologize. The public hearing is possible. No, setting the public hearing. So are we doing that on the 18th too?
I'm sorry?
Is that the?
No. Just the public hearing, we open it and you close close it.
Perfect, it says ends, I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Public hearing is open now for the 2016 municipal budget. Any questions over here?
Can't hear you.
Sorry, everybody, guys. Hey, Kurt, Mr. Francie, let's have our tilt ups over there, please, sir. Love everybody, but we gotta keep going. Anybody have any comments or concerns on our 2016 municipal budget? This is the open public hearing. Okay, this side of the room? Okay, I'll close it. That's it.
Mr. Blasio, we're gonna carry the adoption.
Yes, we're in a holding pattern here until we get word from the state, MTA, on how much we're gonna get, hopefully we get money. And then we can go ahead and maybe make amendments and then go for adoption.
Perfect, then I'm assuming you'll have another conversation with our finance committee once all those numbers come back in, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a time frame as to what they're getting back to you?
Generally, what's happened in the past, Matt?
We're hoping in 1 month we'll have an answer.
So by June at some point, you think?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, and then at some point you'll reconvene, you and the finance committee will reconvene and go from there.
We can do it that way.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, on to the ordinances. On for introduction, setting of a public hearing date for June 1st is ordinance 0-16-12. An ordinance of the Borough of Highlands and the County of Monmouth in the state of New Jersey, supplementing Chapter 8 of the Code of the Borough of Highlands to regulate snow and ice removal on sidewalks.
Brian, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what has changed since the last one that we knocked down?
We did not change the last one. There were questions or concerns from residents concerning the liability picture, which we discussed. And we should be proceeding forward.
Perfect. I had many emails from folks, and they gave me, in my mind, a lot of legitimate reasons why we should look at a couple of things on there. I understand people downtown and Kim's concerns, and I don't disagree with what they're saying, but I don't know how they remedy the folks that are on the highway getting swept in by commercial, plows, and the school issues with our school. And so I'm not going to vote for it as it's currently constructed, but feel free to talk about it, folks, for the record if you want.
So this is just a vote to introduce and set a public hearing date.
So if anybody wants
We
to.
can set a public hearing, but then we're advertising and everything else, so we want to make sure that we're crystal clear that we have a.
I know we all have a lot of concerns, but they were all addressed by everybody, but have at it and set the public hearing. I don't see, in my opinion, they have to be adequately addressed. I feel for what Kim's saying. Let's face it, knock on wood, it's not gonna snow tomorrow.
Right.
So we had another, let's get, in my mind, let's get some of the answers, what the remedy is for these folks who are legitimate questions, as does the concerns of Kim and the people downtown. What are they gonna do when they get plowed in with a foot of snow from a commercial, dump truck or quote unquote, half a ton with a plow on it bigger than our houses, and they gotta dig out of 20 feet of ice or whatever the scenario is. I don't think we've addressed that.
I did reach out to the borough administrator and the mayor of Atlantic Highlands. They also have county roads and, as well as 36. And what they did, what they say they do is that they try to have their DPW guys help out to clear the sidewalks after the county and after the state goes through on 36. They also said that they give their code enforcement people the heads up that the people that are along those county and state roads, to give them extra latitude, more time to shovel, and to be light on a code enforcement,
Sure.
as you say, when we get 6 feet of.
Sure, whatever it is,
snow
right,
on
and
the
it changes by the
sidewalk,
amount of
he's not
snow,
Sitting there writing the executive.
All I'm saying is at some point, us four are not gonna be sitting here, there'll be another 4 or
Yes.
5 people. Are they gonna have the same leeway in their mind, or a new code enforcement? That then should be broken down in timeframes and written in concrete, so it's not, I don't like really giving people, I don't wanna say something, but interpretation privy of a law. I think we should
Yes.
make it as clear as possible, and I think we have to, obviously, the residents on the Hill as well as downtown talk about it. And like I said, it's not September, it might not snow tomorrow, not gonna work. But,
I'm just not sure, I mean, we have 3 DPW, Atlantic, I mean,
Right, they've
their
got-
marina guys are sitting around all winter.
I know.
So that's, a lot of big surplus of manpower to help, help with those affected areas. So I don't think that we can expect ours.
I wanna do it, I wanna go forward, I just don't think we can have people interpreting things, it leads to a lot of, well, that's his cousin, or, you know what I mean, and he's getting away with that, or da-da-da-da-da.
It is May.
I get it.
It doesn't mean we don't have to set the date for next week or 2 weeks,
Exactly.
or 2 weeks from now. We can, you know.
I just think we need to address the folks on the Hill and the other concerns that I'm sure we all got via email and at the last meeting for sure, and try to drill it down so it makes sense. And obviously, we gotta talk about the school. And I would love to, it's no secret, we have a new administrator coming on at some point, right, in the next 30 days or so. I'd love to get the input from that person who, if it's the person I believe we're gonna bring on, has, I'm sure, well-versed from both sides of the fence in this, and maybe bring something to the table we're not aware of.
Right.
So I would say let's table it, I don't wanna say indefinitely, because it's not important, but I can see sending it out to an introduction and then noticing and then changing 6 things on there or whatever the number is.
Right, as stuff comes up during.
Right, exactly, that we don't even know about right now.
All second that offer.
Table indefinitely,
Yeah.
correct?
But Karen, so do me a favor, the whiteboard you have in the office, just put something on there so we're not letting this go past June, and we're talking about it again and trying to drill down and get some information so it's not September and everybody's scrambling.
Yep.
And Brian, anything you've done in other towns, I'm just bring to the table.
Yeah, we've addressed this before, so we'll address whatever
Perfect, thank you.
updated.
Just so we can do it, maybe it's a little more palatable to our residents and the schools. Can you want to weigh in?
I had sent the council a bunch of suggestions that I thought were good compromises. If you could send them to Brian, maybe, let him
I'll
feel
forward
them
it to
out.
you. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table it indefinitely, but we're also going to try to readdress it within 30, 45 days, let's say.
Yes. Can I take a roll call?
Please.
Ms. Breon?
Yes.
Ms. Diarigo?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes, please.
On for second reading and public hearing is ordinance 0-16-10, calendar year 2016. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap rate. This was published in the April 14th edition of the Two River Times and may now be open for a public hearing.
Pat, a brief explanation before we open up, if you don't mind?
Sure, right. We introduced this ordinance about a month ago. It's part of the municipal budget. What it does is the state came out with a cap law, and they said that you can only increase your budget 0% this year. That cannot happen. We can't operate with a 0% budget. So we have this cap bank. So this enables us to raise our budget to 3.5% and maintain a cap bank. And it's something that that kind of needs to be done.
Can we also, Pat, briefly explain what are the, and there's probably 3 or 4, but you don't have to hit them all. What are the main drivers of not being able to have a 0 cap increase on the borough side?
Sure. Let's say, I don't want to pick on the police department, but when you have raises in any municipal department.
Guys, hang on.
Yeah, no problem. When you have raises in any municipal department, they range from a percentage point to percentage and a half. That raises that the municipal budget has to be increased to pay for that. So if we didn't do this capping, people would have to be laid off if we didn't do that.
And the rumor is it's healthcare increases year to year and
Sure. Pension increases, debt service increases, there's quite a few.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's open the public hearing. Any questions on the cap bank ordinance 16-10? As explained thoroughly.
Do I have to say again?
You can, if you don't mind.
So related to that, are we still looking at new revenue coming in from property maintenance to help offset some of these other issues? I mean, and I don't know when is the right time to talk about this, but we all know that that is a source of revenue, but we've also heard that tickets are being written, but now it's clogging the system. So can we get some kind of update on property maintenance from both a revenue standpoint as well as a quality of life and compliance standpoint?
I think, Mayor, that's normally included in the administrator's report. He normally lists on how many violations there are and what the proceeds are.
And I know that we've had the full-time person on for not a full year yet, if you will, or actually functioning correctly for a full year. And I know for sure there's been a lot more, to your comment, a lot more summonses issued. And I've seen the dates come across, and I know that Tim had it, I believe, at the last meeting, but I might have been something, sorry about that, for like the update from last month. So we'll get a few from this.
So do we know, I mean, how much revenue we?
I don't know, but I know the number went up, but I don't know how much. He did say that, I don't know if he cited revenue, but he talked about how many tickets and everything else were issued and what was pending in the courts.
Yeah, so I would request that in addition to saying how many tickets, is to get an account
The dollar
of
amount?
how much revenue we're getting from this.
Can you put a note on there so we have it for the next meeting for Dave and Tim, so we don't miss it? If you don't mind,
Yes,
that'd be
I only have one number from Dave, and that was, there are 34 registered for the abandoned property program.
Right.
And so far, that revenue that's been generated is $9,000 from that one.
Just from the one thing. So we'll try to get it
Also,
done.
yeah, 2 houses are gonna be coming down. I notice that Katie's not here, she'd be overjoyed to hear that 326 Bay is coming down, as well as 40 Seadrift. So I've been talking with Penta, I'm sorry to take over your report, I just had a meeting with him. And he said that about 99 tickets have been written so far in just sections 10-12 and 10-13.
And has the substandard housing committee been reestablished? I mean, that's part of the ordinance, but they haven't
It's
met
in the
for
funding,
three
in the
years.
budget. So now that Dave, I said the funding's there in place for it,
There
in the
used to be a
budget for
committee.
Dave.
There used to be a committee, but they
Oh, you
haven't
mean the
met in
committee
3
itself?
years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she's asking. There used to be an actual committee that got together with the code enforcement officer and
Point out
and
things.
point out things and kind of help them along a little bit. And I don't think we enacted that this year.
I don't think we did either.
Because he was part-time before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Sandy.
we had it years ago, I think when it was Mr. Murphy, before it was even
Right.
Mr. Mercado.
Correct.
Right, I think, did you work with Mr. Mercado or Mr. Murphy?
Both.
Both, yeah.
In there. So my question would be just.
So you want to have this committee formed?
Again,
I would like the council to consider it because, it's part of the ordinance. So again, if you're looking at the ordinance, that's something that we are non-compliant on that ordinance because we're supposed to have a substandard housing committee. It tells you who's supposed to be on it. It tells you how to petition. So I would ask that if you're not gonna have it, remove it from the ordinance because it's there and nobody's met on it for over 3 years.
So I have no question on that.
And I know there's plenty of people who would put in a request to be part of that committee if there are public members available for that committee. So-
Carolyn, can you send the requirements and everything to us that it used to be and, kind of, if you don't mind, to the city hall council, obviously,
Yes.
and make sure Brian has a copy, in case he sees anything that he has to address in it? Thank you. Cap bank ordinance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the public hearing.
Anybody have anything else? Thank you, sir. No? Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Offer, final reading, and adoption is ordinance 0-16-10. The calendar year 2016, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Breon. Ms. Breon.
Yes.
Ms. DeRigo.
Yes.
Mrs. Wells.
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes.
That brings us to committee reports. Start with finance.
Perfect. Mr. Blasio, you're on the
Okay,
air, sir.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to give special thanks to the Budget Committee. It consists of Mayor Nolan, Councilwoman Kane.
Not in the mirror, I'm off it.
But you were on it at the very beginning and then stepped down from there. Councilman Card was on there, Administrator Tim Hill, and we had some members of the public, Chris Francie, Alyssa Peterson, Kim Skorka, and Joe McFadden. And this budget process started back in December, so we had input from everyone. We had department heads come in and explain each and every budget line item the best they could. We asked in this budget a 5 to 10% decrease in almost every operating budget. So this group here did a good job in helping us build this budget. Okay, I just wanted to say that. In the tax office, our tax collection period is going on now. Taxes are due from May 1st to May 10th. Please pay in that period. If you pay on the 11th, we have awful tax rates, interest rates that we charge, so you want to pay on time if you can. And then the last thing, Mr. Mayor, is that we do have our audit. The auditors came in actually yesterday, so they're starting the 2015 audit. It's supposed to be completed by June 30th, and we're well on the way to having it completed by the statutory date.
And when that's completed, the public gets an opportunity to look at it and the results and everything else, correct?
Absolutely, it'd be presented, yes.
Thank you, sir. Public safety, Claudette?
We couldn't get the fire department or the first aid attachment open, so, and the police report is in here, but I do want to say one thing. Chief informed me that we received a $5,000 grant for the Click It Ticket program for May 23rd to June 5th, so that was, we just received that, so.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much it.
Click it or ticket?
Click it or ticket.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Hill is not here. Board of Education?
Yeah, actually, I mean, there's always good things happening and
No
some of our
question.
board members are here, Dr. Thompson's here. I'm actually gonna kind of defer to Robbie Burton a little too, because the meeting that we had with Mayor Nolan and myself, basically what they're looking to do is really get a safer environment for our schools, for the walking for the children, and make a safe, extend the school zones onto Linden, Waterwich, to make it safer for our kids basically to get into school. I know you know, just from your parents, Krista, how hard it is just to get down there, even though you don't live there anymore, for your children to get to school. So I think it's a great idea. I hope that we can really move forward with this. I don't know if Robbie has any updates. We talked about several things, looking into a safe way to school grants to get additional signage. It's always difficult because you're dealing with county roads, state roads. It's, you know, I even offered to put the signs on my front yard, but that's not really cool either. So we'll figure it out, and I'll let Robbie just parlay and see if there's been any updates or.
There really hasn't. I spoke to Dale Luger the other day in reference to the Safe Routes to School grant, which would encompass a lot of the things that the school board is looking for. Dale and I and Councilman Carr actually had a meeting today about the street signs on Bay Avenue, but we didn't speak about that. The chief and I spoke again about that today, the Safe Routes to School grant, along with some of the signage. The council is going to have to be on board to pass a resolution at some point with reference to the school zone. So we will get to that, and hopefully we can have, I didn't give you a flyer, I have a flyer. There's a workshop for this grant. I spoke to somebody of our previous grant writers who gave me some information on it and said that this could potentially yield a significant amount of money. That would not just go for signage, it could go for ADA compliant sidewalks at the school, things like that. So I think we're going to need to really get some professionals on board with this grant who can give us that information, i.e. Sidewalks, how much, you know, the concrete costs, to have that information at their fingertips.
Sure.
So we could submit this grant and, you know, maximize its potential.
If you would like, Rob, we coincidentally, our borough engineers have a grant writing department in their business, so I think I'll take a straw poll. Everybody's good with them looking at it for now.
Sure, great.
So as we're looking at RFPs for long-term grant writers, they actually have a division that does it. So if you, the council's direction, Becky, I know you were involved with it.
Yeah, Becky and I,
Turn it on.
Councilman Ken and I spoke, and like I said, I spoke to Dale about it.
Yeah, let them pursue it then for you. They have grant writers in their company.
And the school board, they're excited about this, and they do know that these things do take time.
Absolutely.
But the grant is due, I want to say, June 30th.
Yeah, so obviously get them on.
And I didn't want to wait, you know,
So,
until we
you know,
decide if there's a new grant writer or not.
You
You know,
On the
so
events calendar, right?
we have, you know, we have them
I
in-house.
scanned it and sent it to
There you
the
go.
schools.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a good project that I think we're all excited about. We can all work together and.
And I think it may yield more than what they're looking for, make it more out of it.
Great.
Right. Perfect.
More is always better in that case, right? Thank you, Rob. Thanks, Rebecca. Highlands Business Partnership. Carla, you got anything left?
Well, there's a long one, I don't know if you got.
How about it? Take them on.
How about the Cliff Notes?
War and Peace or the Cliff Notes, whichever your style is tonight.
Want me to read it?
Sure. Read it. Whatever you tell me. There's no wrong answer.
You can read.
Go for
Anything
it.
up here,
Just make sure everybody can hear you.
Alright. Right in Highlands, community cleanup took place Saturday, April 23rd. 80 volunteers participated. The PBA donated food, cooked hamburgers and hot dogs to the volunteers. The projects included general cleanup in Honey Park, Community Center Playground, the lot next to the bank, Veterans Park, Miller Beach, South Bay Beach, and the Shore Drive hillside. Volunteers also painted the skate park equipment, Veterans Park benches, and worked on the boardwalk. A heartfelt thanks to all the residents, council people, volunteers, Girl Scout Troop 6820, Cub Scout Troop Pack 22, Community Hope, the Highlands Garden Club, and the Highlands Police Explorers.
And everybody else we didn't mention.
I said the residents.
I just said everybody else. Yeah. Make sure everybody got covered.
16th Sequel Craft Show will take place Sunday, May 29th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. A very special announcement, HPP would like to acknowledge Councilwoman Claudette for her assistance in introducing HPP to her colleagues at the Cayman Islands Tourism Council.
Nice.
They have graciously signed on as an HPP sponsor and donated a trip to the Cayman Islands valued at $5,000. We will be raffling the trip at the Plan Fest to benefit the Highlands Police Explorers Learning for Life program.
For the record, none of us can win, right?
Sorry?
None of us can win, right? You always tell me I can't.
I just can't win.
Oh, okay. I don't care if you win, I want to win.
Okay, let's see, where are we? The tourism rep is a Monmouth County resident, was supportive of the Explorers program and the sponsor opportunities provided by HVP. Highlands Police Explorers assist the HVP with all events, and their program operates mostly from fundraising dollars. So when you see them selling tickets, be sure to take a chance. On April 25th, HVP attended the Twin Lights ribbon cutting celebration for the grand opening of the newly renovated Twin Lighthouse of Medicine Museum. Currently, a special exhibition, Seeing Stars Every Flag Tells a Story, is really nice, so I urge everyone to get up there and check out the exhibit. 5th Annual Taste the Highlands will take place June 25th, 12 to 5 p.m. Tickets are $40 per person and be available online. And on the day of the event, includes nearly 20 restaurants, where this year, immediately following Taste of Highlands, we'll be featuring a last stop at C Street free beach concert with the Moroccan Sheepherders celebrating their 20th anniversary. The concert will take place from 4 to 9 p.m. You do not have to attend Taste of Highlands to attend the concert. All are welcome. Visual Improvement Committee, HVP partnered with the Clean Communities Program for the spring cleanup mulch and herbicide application, which took place at various town parks and public spaces. The Vex Park boardwalk railings have been completed, and we will be purchasing the solar light caps to put on the top of the posts. We will also work with members of the Highlands Fire Department and other volunteers to add the remaining screws to the boards for the completion. We will also be coordinating the seagrass plantings with members of the Garden Club members Barbara Iannucci and Donna Basinger. Did I say that right?
No, that's okay.
I always screw it up, I'm sorry. Basinger.
Cheers to the ballpark. Like church.
Donna, what did I say? I messed it up every time. And then we will have a dedication ceremony for the sponsors, acknowledgements in early July when the plantings are complete. We'll continue the special announcement. Tara Ryan was an amazing friend to the Highlands Business Partnership. Long before her many board positions and council seats, she was a loyal volunteer to our organization. We have truly lost a great friend. In her memory, HPP has ordered 2 benches through the Adopt a Bench program and 2 little free libraries that will be personalized to Tara Ryan's Little Free Library. We will have a ceremony dedicating them in her honor on May 21st at 11 a.m. A bench with a little library will be installed at Veterans Park and at Stump Harbor Beach. We will have plants arranged around the posts of the little libraries, and the logistics will be coordinated with the borough administrator. A ribbon cutting celebration for Unique Yoga is planned for June 4th at noon. A mercantile has been issued to Bar Bay, and the ribbon cutting will be planned. And Leo Cervantes, Chilango's his book has been published, Chilango's in the House. And we will have a book launch on this week, May 7th, from 3 to 6 p.m. We look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you. Oh, and I want to just add, Ms. Fair, thank you. The students came down after we submitted the report and painted the businesses' town windows pink. And we thank you for your efforts.
Becky, you had something on record?
Yeah, it's just not on there. I just wanted to kind of just give you a little recreation overview. Again, for the Kids on the Move program, there's 43 registered. Open gym volleyball, 27 people. Building Bricks Club, 22. Middle school team night, we have 5 participants. High school team nights, 4. One group did a permit to use Kabusian Field. There's all kinds of really great programs going on. I would like to just bring to light, obviously, we are still looking for lifeguards. We've had 1 person apply who is in the process of recertifying at this time. But I just want to let everybody know the multiple places that we've gone out to seek lifeguards. And it doesn't even include, because I have on here Greg and Scott going to your locations. But we have tried to divide and conquer to really recruit them this summer. And we've been advertising at Gossels, the YMCA, through Workforce Development, Brookdale Community College, Monmouth, Henry Hudson Regional. BHBP has been spreading the word. Greg and Scott Keller from the Recreation Committee have been helping. And we've also been doing blasts on social media and Facebook. So when you see it, when you see somebody that you know that puts it out there, share it, because it can't hurt. You never know who we're gonna get, because we really need it, like 8 to 10 to be able to staff adequately. Right now we have one. I've had 2 more hits via email that I've sent over to Jen in the rec center here to kind of go through the process and see, you know, most wanna know how much, that kind of stuff. And some of the newer kids, they don't understand all the certification that has to happen. So I have done that. We've been in contact with Kim Karaman, the phys ed teacher at Henry Hudson. She's put it in the morning announcements. She tells her PE classes, and I think she kind of urges them a little bit too for some of her students. It's posted on the Highlands website in several different areas, including under recreational events, Highlands Happening, and the big, large red exclamation point on the homepage, as well as associated notices. And also, you know, then there's still paper, so flyers have been out in the community center, as well as public packets and council meetings for several months. And we have had Mr. Hill reach out to a contact at Seabright, so I'll probably touch base with him once he comes back from vacation. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Brenda. Grant writing, we've had, just so everybody's on the same page, we had 3 responses to the RFP. We hope to appoint the person or company on the next meeting, which is 2 weeks from tonight. Communication Committee, anybody have any further information on that? I do not. No? Communication Committee recommendations?
Yeah. For, well, first off, we elected officers, and Jen Olson is the chair, Sarah Seabolt is the vice chair. And as many of you notice, I take a lot of notes, so I got to be the secretary.
There you go.
So, I don't know, does anyone here at the table have any, read through any of the
I read it, but I was going to
recommendations?
make all points for the vote, so that's
Okay.
okay.
Pretty much, we would like to, we are recommending to the council that we send out a new RFP for the website, as many people have asked us to update it. It's very dated. And also for email, to come up with a better solution for hosting, which I outlined a lot of different options here for the board, but pretty much that there's a much less expensive option out there than using currently Comcast Business. And also, Becky's email is not an email that's not consistent with the rest of the Borough Council's email. Exactly.
Because it's the oldest one?
It's, yeah, it's the oldest one.
It's probably when it got started.
It was one of the recommendations of the committee that we get Becky
Oh,
on our highlandsborough.org email, and then that way Carolyn could set you up with that email, whenever you want your name displayed and whatever, and then you'll be able to set it up so that autofill doesn't happen with your
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
So it won't just be a straight right to the.
And that's fine, and I just don't know if Carolyn already ordered business cards, because then my email will change, so.
Yeah, absolutely, they're gonna pick them up.
But that's something we should work towards, obviously.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that and then just as slowly as time comes, if we do move over to this other platform for, I don't know if anyone had time to go through all the security and stuff that I did on.
I know you and I have spoken about it too.
Right.
So, yeah.
So at the lowest grade, it's $5 per email account, and at the highest grade of security, which I think might be a little bit more than what we need. I think with the lower end, we still have 24/7 tech support,
Right.
all kinds of security, but I know Chief was very adamant in making sure that we had it. It's compliant, other towns use it.
I was going to say, that's good.
And other police departments use it, so that's
Okay.
something that's would be of interest to them. So if we just move forward, then we can get, Paul Vitale has a Gmail address.
Yeah, we gotta get everybody straightened out
Take
here.
everybody off Gmail and get on one consistent email.
Well, let me ask you this, how much did the cards cost, Carolyn? With Becky's old email, just dollars and cents.
$25.
Okay, how much would we save doing it? this way and everybody being compliant.
Oh, at least $1,000.
Let's go forward with it. I mean, that's my,
Because between,
let's go forward.
if
Let's
we were
spend
to
another
add
$1,000.
everybody onto the Comcast, it would cost us a fortune because each additional mailbox
Right,
is
the other way.
$25.
You prepare a formal recommendation?
Yes.
Anybody want to talk about it? I'll say we go forward and get new cards, but I'm gonna say without.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, Carol, you'll set that up for me?
But it'll be done. Sounds good.
A part of, the next one was social media. There's a turnkey way in both, with the new website and with our Swift Reach, that you can do a message out, so it's really just like a push notification that you could do on social media for both Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if someone's trying to take pictures of a Clam Fest and an Instagram, you know, it's just an app.
Sure.
So say we post something on the borough website, it would immediately post to all of these other things.
Okay.
And if, you know, you could decide whether you want to have a comment section, or if you don't want to have a comment section, do you just want to post information out, just something to think about for the future. What we're doing is we've got, our members are looking into other towns to see how they're handling their
that's what I'd
social
like to
media
see too.
presence.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Middletown just does information out and doesn't allow anybody to respond.
No comments.
No comments, but they can share it to their own page.
Okay.
Right.
And then comment. Yeah,
Exactly. Back to Swift, you're gonna be seeing signs going up around town to sign up for that, because there'll be different types of notices, so once the rec center gets their stuff going, we can put rec events, town events, HPP events, mayor and council, you've gotta set it up and just log in, and you can get whatever you want. There's also the way that we set up the notifications for town events, and is that there's, even if someone's roaming and they're a Swift user, say they're going over to the park or the beach, and it'll come up on their Swift alert that Highlands is having X event.
At the location.
Because it's roaming, so it'll just pick up automatically on it.
So it's like they're opting in with notifications.
Exactly.
Awesome. Doing a lot of advertising that way in the private sector, as you know.
Absolutely. And people want to know because they're going to the beach, say, oh,
Everybody
who
always has a
knows?
phone, obviously.
Exactly. Community calendar. Atlantic Highlands does a community calendar, and they do it at the, obviously do it at the end of the year. They get it all printed up, they send it out to all the residents. It has all borough and committee meetings, trash days, all those things that people are nowadays posting on Facebook, going, when is the trash pickup? When is pitbull? The overall cost for that, for them, after talking with their borough administrator, is about $5,000.
And they're mailing it out?
And they're, yes, now mailing it out. And there's a lot of ways that we can cut that number down. We can, because their calendar has absolutely no advertising at all, because he didn't want to deal with the back and forth and favoritism. Why does he get December and I only get February? So, we could do, too bad morning left. I was gonna say we could work with some local artists, maybe they could do artwork. There's a lot of great photographers around. And then we could also look into having advertising offset some of this cost.
Give all the local people an opportunity first, but
Exactly. And also, do updates to the shared web calendar on the borough site, just to keep that updated, because there's so many different groups, and you never know what's going on at what day, and when does the historical society meet, because it's not on the calendar, but we know that they meet all the time, we just don't know when.
And where.
And there's so many more groups in this now, we're gonna have yet another committee on here.
Exactly.
We need to know where everybody is and what everybody's doing. Then the last thing was just a welcome letter. Mark Rose, one of our residents, our part-time residents, also has a place in Marlboro.
Okay.
And she adores her mayor. And she had him send me the welcome letter they sent to their residents, which is, I just have to scan everything in to show everybody. But it's really cool, very nice, very informative. And I think it's a really nice personal touch.
Yeah, I like
nice
it.
little welcome letter for the county.
And let me ask this, the trigger is what, a CO or something like that? Awesome. Sounds good, we've talked about it.
And that was it. That was our first two meetings that were held 16 days apart. We covered a lot.
That's good. That's awesome. I mean, definitely I'm all for everything you said. whatever we want to do going forward. Good. Okay. Other business, summer kickoff event? Speaking of that.
That was an event that the Recreation Committee had spoke of, having a summer kickoff event on the beach out here. We spoke of many different entities that are willing to help. You know, the fire department is willing to do a bonfire, Boy Scouts with making s'mores, that kind of stuff. Hoping to get the Girl Scouts involved, first aid, really just a community kickoff, try to bring everything together. I had sent an email asking for support from the council before we move forward because it would be June 3rd. I'm not sure if some of the issues with Tilt Up, you know, I don't think it's going to be conducive to move it to a different beach because we're going to need this building. We're going to need to cook food in there. You know, the PBA said they would help us with food. There's restrooms here, and there's just more space.
If for any reason the project is gated off, that would be your event.
No, because it really wasn't a part of it.
So that would, in theory, remove the liability
Right.
that we talked about today. Okay.
So,
I'm good if it's gated off.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
So the tilt up will be, have a fence around it.
That's what we get gated off, that's what we
Yeah.
talked about, yeah. So then you're limiting, if you will, our liability.
because it's really a neighbors meeting neighbor type of mixer type thing, where everybody would get together. I know Val at the Woodland Shop, she is willing to help with the entertainment. So there'll be music, and what she wants to do is really post all of our own talent. You know, so it'll be musicians from Highlands, artists from Highlands, and as we kind of, you know, obviously getting buy-in is the first cake. So if you guys endorse the event, then we can start getting together in our subcommittee, and you know, who knows, there may even be a little art show in here or up on the deck. You know, because she really wants to showcase our local talent. So I think that's wonderful.
Carl, do you have an event that day?
What's that? No, that's the fifth.
Oh, that's not the same day. Nothing else on June 3rd?
No, that's just a busy weekend, because the third would be that, the fourth is
Ribbon cutting.
a ribbon cutting, and then the fifth is the inlet. However, we just didn't approve that because the.
So the third is a Friday night issue.
But we can still approve the invite next.
Yeah.
So the chief, like, gets his.
Sorts out what he needs to sort out.
Right.
I will offer it with the caveat that we have the tilt up project gated off over the barrier we talked about in, you know, multiple conversations.
And this was what time?
It would be 5 to 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
it's
The
not,
other
it's
thing
not
on
really a
the-
lifeguard
That was the
thing,
yoga.
yeah.
No, I was looking at what else was on for that day.
Yeah, no, it should be,
There's no beach involvement, obviously, as far as going in the water.
no, and you know, bring your own chair. You know, I spoke with Officer Dobbins, he said that PBA can help cook. So hopefully we can just pull it all together, but now at least we can solicit more donations for different groups.
I'll offer it with the caveat that we do a separate gating off the structure.
Second.
Ms. Brouillon?
Yes.
Ms. DeRiga?
Provided it's gated, yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mayor Mel?
Yes, same thing, I'll echo Claudette's comments.
Then we have a memo from the school regarding requesting a school zone designation.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that briefly.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go forward. I think that obviously Rob and Rebecca are going to work with T&M and whoever is their appointed grant writer in the office. I think just obviously a quick show of hands. We're all, I think, for it up here. That's the direction we're taking. And then when we do have a final grant writer appointed, they'll pick up the ball and go with it. So we're all good with that. Public portion, anybody got anything left? John, please.
While I'm here, I hate to take up your time, but while I'm here. The corner of North and Shrewsbury, the bus, the house I own.
Okay.
The whole job with T&M, I don't know who to talk to because it's a disaster. I have no confidence left in them guys.
T&M period?
Period at this point. They cracked my building, okay? They told me how to fix it. I spoke to Rob Keaty, he assured me to get an estimate and that he would hold up the bond just so it's resolved. I spoke with the contractor, I told him I don't want you fixing my building because I see how you guys work. You know, and that's my right now to do a walk fix my own building.
I would agree with you on that.
So I just want to let you know that I would hope that you wouldn't release the bond until that's resolved. But everybody else got a retainer where they put in the handicap to retain whatever was there, except for me, probably because we gave him garbage about it. I said, "Dude, are you gonna beat that like that?" "Oh, we're gonna grade it." I said, "What do you mean you're gonna grade it? Everybody else got one of those? And this, you're gonna beat the one because, you know, probably because they didn't like my attitude towards it, but they ran a pump on their property for 4 months. I was just trying to help them get the job done. You know, and that's like, I don't know what the problem is.
John, you spoke to Rob on this?
I didn't speak to Rob about that. I spoke to Dale, Larry, Steve, who's there, and now he's gone.
Okay.
But, you know, it's all past the buck with them guys. And that's why I'm bringing it up now. I hope, you know, maybe you could just make a call and say, take care of that.
Okay.
You know, but I don't see a concrete guy sitting here and I'm bringing it up. The other pointed out is, I asked them about who's doing the yellow curbs.
Okay.
They said it's not in the contract. It's something that's gonna need to be addressed. I mean, the parking down there's been a nightmare when they're busy. You know, you can't get out of North Street, you have to pull a half out and look around. You know, so that's gotta be done. So you guys gotta figure out when for that. If they're done, I don't know if they're done with the sidewalks now or not.
I'll have the conversation with Keely tomorrow.
And one more thing in relation to that, the sewer line between the manhole by the Winning Safe and the other manhole, and then it runs up to the inlet, it runs up to the Cornwall. You guys spend, I don't know how much Oswald charges every time they come out, at least $3,000. You know, I'm guessing you guys could probably look it up 4 times in the spring, 4 times in the fall. At least. Maybe a couple times in between. There's a problem there. They already broke it up by the Wind and Safe. They had to tie his lateral in, the guy across the street. They only patched it. I think it would be really, really smart to replace it manhole to manhole and up to the inlet's lateral. Save yourself money in the future. You know it's bad. Rather than pave over it and, you know, you already had one break. It's beyond me why they just didn't go manhole to manhole. You know, because you're tying terracotta in with new plastic. Terracotta is, you know, it's fragile as it is. You're spending all that time TV in it, you're paying for all that. You know what, just replace it, and then that way you know that problem's not going to exist in the future. And if you look it up in the records, Frank, I'd say at least 4 times in the spring, 4 times in the fall, and, you know, in between it backs right up, all the way up Cornwall. I mean, it's smart to do it now. You know, it might be more with that, you know, you're spending tens of thousands a year messing around with that. Might as well just fix it while you're doing it.
While we're there. Have that conversation tomorrow. Thank you. We'll go this way, right, guys? Okay.
Christian Lee, 2 Navasink. So I'd like to thank the council for at least acknowledging the hardships that I face on the highway with the snow being piled onto the sidewalk. But at the same time, I'd like to point out that Highlands is different than neighboring towns, either Seabright or Atlantic Highlands. The highway is only 1 lane in Seabright, and in Atlantic Highlands there's a large grass buffer that's between the road and the sidewalk that actually takes the bulk of the snow that gets plowed off of the road. Or in Highlands, the sidewalk is right against the curb, and the sidewalk gets all of the snow. So the fact that Atlantic Highlands still has a problem with the snow, I think that really says a lot of how bad it really is. You know, I think that the solution is really to prevent the snow from being plowed onto the sidewalk in the first place, or to get it cleared away. And that's not something I can do as an individual, but I would, you know, suggest that maybe the council can contact the DOT, the county, the town guys to see if there's something they can do to not pile the snow on the sidewalk in the first place, or maybe to get rid of it after they do. I really think that's.
You're saying to leave it on the side and not go curb to curb?
I don't know what the
I'm just saying,
solution
is that
I mean,
suggestion?
Yeah, I don't know what they can do, but something has to be done.
Appreciate the comments.
Tricia?
I can't hear you.
Speaking about the snow removal, I also have concerns because we flood, we get snow flood. And it's really hard to pick up that wet snow once it's done. for anybody, really, and it's icebergs on top of it. So I have concerns regarding the areas that flood downtown with that snow removal. It's really hard just doing the small area to get into your house, never mind sidewalks. I mean, I understand they have to be done at some point, but the topography of this town is different.
Than many other towns, I agree with you.
It makes it really difficult.
As well as Central is so different than any other section.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with you, I think that's why the majority of the council kind of put the,
And if I could
brakes
just
on.
say something else, again, this isn't about snow removal. It's more about the school safety. Wondering if you would consider a four-way stop sign on Bay and River Beach, because people just whip through there. I mean, there's a lot of contractors in town, and they just fly through that intersection. It's really hard to cross the street, or if you live, you have to drive through that intersection. It's really hard to do. People just don't, on Bay, just fly past you. So I mean, just something. Bring it up with the chief.
I would tell you, I think we're considering everything, but, Ms. D'Arrigo's gonna bring it up as the liaison.
Walking, I've almost gotten hit with people flying through that.
Sure. And we've had the same type of comments from, to your point, it's 100% right. We've had the same type of comments from folks, not so much at night, but in the morning with Water Witch and Shore Drive with people coming down the hill, so.
And it's a tough because, like the bus will sit there, so you can't see around the bus.
Correct.
You're trying to go this way, and he's just sitting there having trouble.
Yeah,
It's not his fault, he's waiting for his route,
But it's
but
actually a FedEx on that corner.
you can't,
I couldn't see.
Yeah. I also think we need a crossing guard up on the top of the hill too, full-time, all the time, but that's, I'll just put my 2 cents in on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're in on 65 Snow Harbor. As far as safety, I'll stick on that first. If we can definitely very soon get the yellow corners of Waterwich and Bay.
That whole 4 corners there?
Those 4 corners. But also, and I know there's a lot of businesses right there. And I'm not 100% sure, but I believe when they're there and they're parking in the mornings, especially going to get the coffee or whatever, they're crossing in the middle of the road. Is that jaywalking?
I'm sure technically it is.
Because there was kids that are crossing from one end to the other, and the cars are going. I really think that in a kind way, maybe we need to put the word out there to tell people to go to the corners, but they're also parking so close to each corner that you can't see.
There's an issue with line of sight, like a lot of people have brought up, and I would agree with
So we really need to kind of spread the word to have people please go to the corners and cross if they're going there to those shops, especially in the morning time because it's so crazy, and now with the construction it's even worse. Plus the kids are trying to get across with the crossing guard, and
there are a lot of
it
small
amazes me that people actually park in the yellow, almost in the crosswalk, every day. Second of all, the Facebook thing that you were saying about, please suggest, you said about comment or no comment with the picture, please no comment, just picture, my suggestion.
Just be able to post it, they can put it on their own.
Yeah.
They want to export it to their own account, have
Yes,
that.
but so that when people
I think
come,
that's the right way, I think
people
we're all.
come to
Absolutely,
look,
because then if you don't have a comment section, then you have no maintenance.
Right.
Because
Fair point.
everything,
Yeah.
when you update
That's
the
probably
borough
better.
website,
right,
it goes right to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And
exactly,
then that's, you're done. You don't have to
Right.
do anything but set it up.
exactly,
Good
because then
idea.
no one can say he, she, this,
Right,
whatever.
exactly.
And then I just
Well,
want to
they will
make it clear, the lifeguards. If we do not, I believe, we need a minimum of 6, if not 8, I'm almost positive on that, to start the program for the beach, to have enough coverage, okay? But if we don't have that, when are you going to cut it off as far as our program starts on July 5th here with the kids? And or do you have any other suggestions, or are we gonna just say we don't have lifeguards? Because I know it's been brought up. I personally worked very hard in the last 2 years with Becky, myself, putting it out there to get lifeguards. So I know how hard it is, but we couldn't get them then. So I just wanna know for, it's coming close. I don't want people to start saying, oh, they're gonna have lifeguards because they're putting it out there. If we don't have it, by what point are you gonna start saying, our beaches do not have lifeguards? Because I know, Claudia, you were very adamant about it and the safety and all that. So Is there a plan? Do you have a time frame?
Can I just before, because I talked to Tim right before he left on vacation.
Yeah.
And he said that the plan was that there are still classes going on in all of the month of May.
Yes.
So he's not giving up hope just yet. And then we also discussed not having guards on Miller, or even entertaining, like South Bay is really a very tiny beach, but it's been years since there was a guard down there. But if we don't have a lot of people and we cut out Miller Street Beach and we just concentrate on however many people that we have are here.
Because your programs are
The
here.
programs are here, the kids are here,
Makes
the
sense.
kitchen's
Yeah.
here, bathrooms,
Exactly.
whatever.
You would
It would
still
make
have
more
to have a
sense.
minimum of the safety. I would have to think 6 people to cover Monday
Just
through
cover
Friday.
here, right.
Yeah, just here.
And then it was also discussed that might not be every day, or we should definitely, the
That's
priority is
that's the only thing I'm.
the priority is this
concerned with,
week, the
sporadic
priority is the
is
weekend, the priority is the weekends that
Holiday
are holiday
weekends, yeah.
weekends, and then any extras could go to fill in that.
I would
And then-
imagine it's been done in the past in other
Yeah.
places where if you need 10, you got 6, you put out a schedule.
Right.
And you would have to do that, to your point, by June, because the kids, before
Okay,
you
but what
have
if we don't even
school.
have 4? At this point, we have 1.
Right.
Okay, so what
Maybe.
if we don't
But
have 4?
wait,
So
now
what-
Claudette's got
Let's
something
Claudette,
I
go
want to give you.
Well, I had a discussion with him about possibly reaching out to some of the companies that provide guards. I talked to Scott about that too, because Scott has some
Private
connections
services,
there.
basically.
Yeah, private services. But it's up to the town whether they want to pay for the private services.
Can I ask a question? Can we make some estimates maybe at the next meeting?
We can try.
So we can, you know what I mean? So at least we have an idea what we're looking at.
Oh, so you mean that us as taxpayers are gonna pay for?
Well, you're paying for this budget for the guards anyway.
You pay it anyway, it's better to mention how much.
Yeah, it's a matter of how much.
Well,
You know, a service could provide 10 guards, but if you don't want to spend that kind of money,
Right, so
Yeah.
you might be deciding to your point,
Right.
that we can only afford 6, so whatever the number is, because that's what we budgeted for.
Right.
So we'll try to have something in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you. Alice, 62 Brown. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just back to the snow ordinance for a minute. I just want to stress that when you do look at it, the borough properties, like, for example, at our building at 140 Bay, we shovel, but the borough never shovels around Cornwall Square, public park, so we wind up doing that. So I'm just saying, if you want to take into consideration, and even like I notice Huddy Park sometimes, you know, it takes a while with all limited manpower. So I just want to, you know, stress that we should really be thinking about that, because if we're going to enforce people,
So giving people summonses and we didn't shovel our own property.
Yeah.
Great point.
Cynthia Fair, 73 Navasink, Highlands, and President of Highlands Board of Ed. Just want to thank you guys so much for supporting our plans for the school safety zone. And then I have one statement about the website, posting pictures. Are you going to have a delay between when people post pictures and they're up on the website so that you can censor inappropriate pictures? That's the only other question I have.
Right, what I was saying is that when you update the borough website, it's not that anybody can post pictures on that site, only when you're updating the borough website would that borough Facebook, Twitter, Instagram account kick in.
So quote unquote,
We've already
already.
been working with the form that I got to progress, that has the photo
Oh, okay,
release.
yeah, I think
So
that worked.
we can work with that as well.
And actually, Brian worked on it.
Yep.
Fix some of the verbiage, because we never had like a photo release form and that kind of stuff, or even the kid programs down here. And Jen has that, she's gonna start incorporating that in the programs that we do here.
So it sounds like it's going to go through a funnel and approved and then posted on the site we talked about.
Right, especially photos of children, so that should always have a signature.
It's not public people doing it, it's you.
No, exactly, it would be the town, you know, or the webmaster, whatever
we
is doing.
decide, right.
It's not town people posting onto it, it's only.
That's why we don't want comments up.
Right, because there's no comments, it's only driven from posting on the website, as opposed to the social media bits where you can't.
I just wanted to make sure people just couldn't post.
No. Yeah, we didn't explain it that apologize.
I'm sorry.
More going through the, our admin process, if you will, and then going out to the other sites, once we prove it's on our own website. Mr. Francis?
Chris Francie, 36 Fifth Street. I sent an email to Carolyn as the liaison to the tree commission, but I was too late to make the agenda, so I'm sorry I have to bring it up at public portion. I got a request to trim trees on town property up Bayside, all right, off of Ralph Street.
Okay.
The lady has hired a arborist, a professional tree person, and he's comfortable with this concept of trimming trees so as to not injure them. It's called a canopy reduction process, and it is consistent with taking care of the trees. It does reduce the tree height, and she's paying for it, and she's getting the benefit in terms of her view shed.
Is this something that's in past practice and applying to what you've been involved in the past?
It is not,
Okay.
because I can't give permission to trim trees on town property.
Okay.
I can give permission to an owner that they can trim their own trees.
Understood.
All right, so this is a new
procedure.
New procedure. It's not covered in the tree ordinance. All right, but all of the criteria. It's an arborist.
If it wasn't our property, you'd be doing it, basically.
Correct. So I recommended that we approve it.
Okay.
All right. I don't know where I have to go from here.
Is that a resolution we need, Rob?
One of the suggestions was that you would detail the specific scope of the work.
Yes.
Correct? And he'd include a representation that all the debris would be removed.
Yes.
Correct.
And you're reading from my email, right, Brian?
I know what was sent in, so I would suggest that you do that so that the governing body can then enact the proper resolution. Okay?
So you're saying do that ahead of approval?
Have them submit that so that they can approve it properly under the resolution.
So submit it obviously to either Carolyn or Mr. Hill, not everybody at once, and then we'll have that conversation between us one-on-one.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Hopefully have an answer for you at the next meeting. I don't think that'd be a problem.
Just have them send,
She's a little.
letter.
I'm sorry?
Just have them send that letter, that's all, outlining.
We'll take it from there.
She's a little anxious. She'd like to get going, but
I'd love to get her going too, but I want to do it right.
thank you.
You got it.
I'm gonna be quick because it's way past my bedtime. Probably past everybody's bedtime. So I have a little report that I can hand to you guys as well. But I'm just asking you guys to keep an open mind. I'm actually speaking for the children who use the rec center, and I'm not pointing fingers. So Rebecca already knows what I'm gonna talk about. I'm actually gonna talk about an issue that they're very upset about, and it's been, and I do feel that they're in danger. There is drug usage in the parking lot. They're dealing drugs. They're starting to threaten parents. They've actually, one child, who I think is one that came forward, was hooked on the fence and threatened by someone, another mother who was consoling a child. The kids were shouting obscenities to her, asking her to leave. So I had a proposal with the rec committee and to change the parking, because everybody should have a right to use the park and be safe. Every person should be able to go there and feel, no, not that, that was something else. Everybody should be able to go there and feel okay. And as a mother, sometimes I'll go, and I actually have called the police several occasions because there was drug usage, and I didn't feel comfortable to say something to the people. So I also feel that the neighbors in the area are also in danger because of the drug usage and the selling. I've noticed, and there's actually a police report, and the chief gave it, I spoke to him about it. I spoke to the kids at the Highlands Elementary School. They're very upset. They don't even, I was like, oh, I'm sorry about the skate park colors, and they didn't even care about that. Something must have happened because they're afraid to go to the park. And they're really sweet kids, and they're like, can you help me, Michelle? So I'm here for them. And I know that there's things Rebecca's doing things, and I just want to put it out there and make it open. And my solution is free. Basically, just restrict parking in the parking lot.
And that will change the usage of the drugs
We're
in
talking
the
right up
park.
here.
Yeah, the southern parking lot. Because what's happening is they park, they hang out. Half of them don't even use the facilities, they just go there and meet their friends. And then there's these random cars that come in and out without children.
And this is all at night, ma'am, basically?
No,
All during
it's all
the
in the
day,
afternoon. Sunday afternoon, you can even check with the phone calls I've made. But I think all we gotta do is just change the parking. Because that would eliminate, I have all of that for you.
Yeah, because you put that in your Mr.
And we could just push the parking back or even allow no parking. Because that will change, just the kids are afraid to walk by the people who are parking their car. And mothers are getting threatened. And a father that went to pick up his child was threatened. And that's not cool.
No.
And this is should be really a safe place. I actually, so last Friday I spoke to the 5th and 6th grade students at Highlands Elementary. Principal's super cool, she let me go in. And they were like, can you please tell them that they're selling drugs? That's what they said. And they said, we don't like that, we don't feel comfortable.
What time is this? Did you say? Is it the afternoon?
This happens all the time.
Okay.
I didn't ask specifics, they're like, Miss Michelle, they're doing drugs, they're selling drugs. And I've called and there's cars going back and forth and whatever, whether that should just not be, they should not be allowed to park on the property. And then that will solve a lot of problems. I also talked to Chief of Police, the detective, and I was like, so what do you think? Would restricting parking be, beneficial? And they said, well, it's really hard to enforce because they go one way and the kids run the other way. Because it's too hard to get in. They love the idea of restricting or no, I say no parking because I was a high school teacher. But if you're restricted, they'll kind of push the cars back onto the road. You have a couple spaces for handicap, there's a proposal. You have another space for ambulances. That doesn't leave a lot of space for parking. The porta-john, which we requested to be removed, because there was drug use in that, is actually moved to the wrong spot. That's supposed to be moved on the street. So we need to get that done because they're not on the street but up to the corner because they're upset about that. And it's our job, right on the edge of the parking lot. Well, then you gotta lock it because they don't feel safe. And you have people coming, I've witnessed it, coming from the bus, walking through the facilities without children, through the facilities when the kids were playing on the playground.
Yeah, the bus driver.
So that's, that's creepy. And wait, please, let me just finish. April 24th, I went to the Recs Committee. They're doing an awesome job. I gave a proposal. They're open to that. So they're gonna investigate it. I talked to the Chief of Police and the department's detective youth officer. They also requested just the park be closed at night, make their job a little bit easier. November 2015, I sent a proposal to Tim Hill about all of this. And basically, just like they have a right to use the park, we do too, but they're getting hostile and people are getting threatened. So something needs to be done, whether it's temporary approval, today. It needs to be done today. And the kids said, thank you very much for listening to me. Because they're like, did you tell them, did you tell them? And I told them the whole process, how things take a while. But, this is our rec center for our kids. And I want them to feel safe and I want them to enjoy it. Now, a lot of people confuse the skate park with I'll call it the riff, I don't know what to say, but the people are doing inappropriate things. Those are two separate things, because a lot of the people who are doing inappropriate things don't even use the park. They park to do their recreation here, and then they leave. A few of them play basketball. So you put the parking away, we all could use the park, and that's it, no finger pointing. And it's free. So I have the report right here, so I'll hand it to you. Thank you for listening.
Can I just
suggest that perhaps surveillance, surveillance cameras are really not that expensive today.
Well, here's what we'll do,
And
when we get the
it really
report,
helped to have that in Barnstable.
yeah, when we get the report, what will happen is obviously Becky's talking about it with the rec committee, but Councilwoman DeRico's the liaison to the police, she's already said she'll take this to Mr. Chief Fluid and try to come up with some recommendations for patrol and police department. So I don't think that's an issue at all.
Deter them
Everybody
if
can
there
be
was a
with that.
sign that there's
That's the
surveillance
immediate.
and.
Yeah.
The immediate need is stepped up enforcement now.
Right, I think that's, everybody would be on board with that, I don't think there's any question of that. We'll go back to the next one.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna, motion to close, we have to go into another meeting without the public executive. I'll offer the motion to close.
I'll second.
All in favor?